Hello, 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 hello. Welcome, 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 welcome. Welcome, welcome. Hopefully, video, audio, all working great. Hopefully, let me know, let me know. Adjusted volumes as always. Probably too loud. I don't know. There we go. Just for fun. Swingometer. There, sound like the guy that does the swingometer at elections. I don't know. Anyway, yes. Hello, Jon Snow. That's the one. Jon Snow. There we go. Swingometer. Is it Labour? Is it Conservative? Who can say? Anyone knows? Votes go everywhere. I'll shut up now. Welcome, welcome. It's Sunday. It's Warhammer Sunday times. How are you doing? Happy New Year to everyone. It's our first proper live stream of the year. I know I did Sidewinder Saturday yesterday, but that doesn't count as a proper live stream because I'm just playing video games. But welcome, welcome. Apologies yesterday if you did watch Sidewinder Saturday. The volume was all messed up and I was really, really quiet, so I've had a fiddle with it and it hopefully will be better next week, so we'll see. And hopefully I've twisted a few things around today, so if I'm a bit loud, a bit distorted and clippy and horrible, let me know. Anyway, welcome, welcome. It's Sunday, it's time to do some Warhammers. As you know, under normal circumstances, I do all kinds of builds during the week, and at weekends, it's my Warhammer times go away. I'm making Warhammers, there you go, nice and shiny. Another Sunday, I just take 3 hours out while I'm doing Warhammer stuff to hang out with you guys and do some stuff. And lately, I have been catching up on my builds for Warhammer Conquest. As you know, I'm doing the part work with much thanks to George, your current stream boss, who is helping me do, wow, I can't get my word. Hang on, tea. There you go, that's better. George has made it possible for me to do that part work. So I'm working my way through, on Sunday shows, getting all the builds for Warhammer Conquest done and dusted. And once everything's done, we've had all 8 trillion issues and I've got no more things to build from the part work, I'll start filming the painting jobs. I've stripped down all the ones I've already painted because we're not going to bother with the magazine paint guides. They're bish. We're going to ignore those. We're going to strip everything down and paint everything properly. I'll do proper video series of how to paint everything. So yes, welcome, welcome, welcome. That's why I've taken the Xeon symbols off the title cards and thumbnails, because we're not working on that at the minute, so it's just Warhammer Conquest. So that's what we're going to be doing. Now, if you've not seen one of these before, basically it's 3 hours of me, probably not doing much work and talking a lot. It's just a chance for you guys to hang out in the chat while you have me on in the background. You're not really here to watch me do anything, because I'm just sticking stuff together. But it's more just a chance to have me on in the background and hang out with your friends in the live chat. If you're watching this and you can't see the live chat is here. You can see it on screen here. But that's not the actual one you can type in. There is, of course, it's on YouTube. So if you want to join in the live chat and be one of the cool kids in this blue box here, if you want to be one of the blue box kids, yeah, I've just made that up in my brain. It's great. If you want to be one of the blue box cool kids, no, I've just made it too complicated. Never mind. All you need to do is click on the little YouTube icon that's down here in the bottom right-hand corner somewhere. He was hiding. A little YouTube icon down here underneath the video player somewhere, depending on what you're watching it on. And that will take you to the YouTube page where you can watch this and join in the typey live chat. And you want to, because it's good fun and everybody in there is awesome and you'll have a good time. That's most people when they come to watch this. They're not watching it for me. They're not watching it to see what I do. They're not really listening to a word I'm saying because I just talk rubbish for 3 hours. They're just hanging out with their friends in chat, and that's what this is all about. So do come and join the live chat. If you're on a mobile device, you may need to scroll this video up a bit. I don't know where my camera is. Move the video that way a bit. It might be underneath. Might be down there somewhere, the chat, if you can't see it. But do come and join in. As always, if you want to catch my attention, I've got the chat here in front of me on iPad. If you want to catch my attention and you are in the chat, just put your comment in big fat capital letters so I have a chance to see it. If I miss you a few times, if you ask a question or whatever and I miss it, don't worry, just come back and ask it again a few minutes later. I will eventually see it. I'll take little breaks every now and then to come and check the chat. If you want to, you can of course use the super chat, which is the little dollar symbol. It's down here underneath the video player somewhere. Underneath the chat window, not the video player. Underneath the chat little box, there's a dollar symbol. That's super chat. That just puts your chat in a colour box and plays a little sound, so I can't possibly miss your comment. It pops up on here and it makes a little sound, so I can't miss it. You'll see it up here somewhere in the corner. And as always, if you want to, I depend on you to give me stuff to talk about, so do ask me questions about anything you want. I'll answer any question about anything apart from religion and politics. I'll answer anything. Even if I don't know the answer, I'll make some shit up. I don't care. I'll just make it up. So, I did the swear word, didn't I? Never mind. You are allowed to swear in chat, by the way. I don't care. I'm not going to swear if I can help it, although I just did, because of monetization. But you can swear as much as you want in chat. I don't care. This is a grown-up show for grown-up people, not made for kids. YouTube, pay attention. So there we go. Oh, hello. We have Of course, we have a little pop-up there in the chat from Mordraka, who says, supper chat. It's almost soup cat, but supper chat. Thank you very much, More. That's very kind of you. That's what happens. You get a coloured box. You can see it there just in the top in chat, so I can't miss it. And you get the little pop-up and the noise as well, so it's dead loud. Also, do be aware, every time you do a super chat, it helps support this channel. It really helps me out a little bit, because this is what I do for a living, so that's my income. So thank you very much for that, More. That's very, very kind of you. Yes, one other thing we're doing as well, as always, we've got the Stream Boss battle going on. You can see it up here underneath. I don't know where the camera is. It's there. I moved the camera up here. The current boss, as you can see, is George Gabriel, your one and only Lord and Saviour, who destroyed Kevin completely and removed him from the throne. Hang on. T. I need to work on this opening so it's a bit faster. No, but not just by talking faster. If you don't know what a Stream Boss Battle is, a Stream Boss Battle is a way for you guys in the chat and watching to build up a community pot of money, basically. One of you is the Stream Boss, and what you do is you all work together to knock him off the throne. And the way you knock him off the throne is drop his HP. This is his HP bar, and he's currently got, what's he got? 98,000 healths. You drop his chat down by doing tips to the tip jar. You can see the tip jar down here, streamlabs.com/modelmakingguru. Every time a tip goes in the tip jar, it sits in the tip jar, it just sits there and goes nowhere. And it takes a bit of George's health off. And every time you put a tip through, the more you put through, the more of his health comes off. Whoever puts through the tip that takes his health to 0 wins, basically, the amount of money in that pot. So it could be. And now I change it all the time. There's no point trying to work out mathematical logically, because it's not, I always change it. So it's more just a case of you building up a pot of money between you, and one of you will win that pot of money to spend at Games Workshop, Forge World, or if you're in the EU, you can spend it at Goblin Gaming. Basically, I tell you how much is in the pot, you tell me what you want me to order, and I order it for you from GW, or Forge World, or Goblin Gaming. Excuse me. And the reason I order it from there is I need tea to clear my throat. The reason I order it from there is because you guys are all over the world, and it's fairly safe. If I order from GW or Forge World, you're not going to get a shipping charge or import charges. So there you go. Although if you do want to take part in that, please read the T's and C's in the description below the video before you take part, before you put money through. So yes, if you want to help get George off the throne, whoever puts him to 0 becomes the new Stream Boss. And do keep in mind, George can boost his health by putting tips in as well. The Stream Boss can put, I don't know for sure, but I think the Stream Boss can put tips in and boost his health back. So there you go. Anyway, let's have a quick look at chat and see who's in, and then we'll crack on. We're going to be carrying on with the Plague Burst Crawler, which I had some issues with. Hello, we have a thing. What was that? That was David Sanderson. Tipped £5. David Sanderson, awesome. You've just taken a little bit or a chunk of George's health off. I've not got my thing, so I can't see it. David Sanderson, fantastic. Well done, that man. Little bit of George's health off there. And like I say, do keep in mind, I don't make any money on that tip jar. I don't get any of that. That purely builds up in the tip jar until one of you wins it, and then I tell you how much is in there, and you get to spend it. So feel free. Yes, I'm building the Playburst Crawler. I had some issues with this, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. Let's have a quick look at the chat. And it's probably stupidity issues rather than design issues. Now, there was a bit of tussage earlier on today where between Pascal and Nim, both of you, hello. Nim technically was the first person in the chat saying, I'm the first person in the world in the chat. Now, we all know that Pascal sits watching every stream channel ever, all the time, permanently. He's always in every chat. All the time, 24 hours. He's got like 50 monitors on a bank in his secret lair, and he's there in every stream waiting. However, he didn't put a comment in, and Nim was first, so you snooze, you lose. But welcome to Pascal. There was a little bit of a pretend fight going on in chat. Nim was like, I've got evidence, and Pascal was like, evidence has no effect on me. So that was fun. As far as I can go back, because I can't see all the chat, as far as I can go back, the first person I've got here is Dad saying, hi Pascal. Hey Dad, we've got Nim and Pascal, of course. Quano Man is in. Welcome, Quano Man. We have lots of back and forth between them. Mordraka comes in. Mordraka is asking about the Mandalorian, but then says, because everybody's not seen it, Mordraka will not ask the question so that I don't spoil it for you. More has a question, but doesn't want to ruin it for anyone that's not seen it. I've seen it. It's awesome. If you're able to watch it, watch it. We have David Butcher, that model is in, one of your modulators. Of course, Dad is a mod as well. And we also have George, who is not only your stream boss, but also one of your mods. He's your Lord and Saviour and also your boss, which is weird. So all those guys are in. We have here also got David Sanderson, of course, we've just seen. He's put a tip through, so thank you very much for that, David. Eric Graham, afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the two of you. Thy Creator. Thy Creator couldn't pop in for long. Did pop in and say hello and Happy New Year, but then had to go because it's the start of the school year. And it's he says, can't stay. First day of the school year tomorrow. See you guys next week when all has settled down. I bet Thy Creator, thank you for popping in, but I bet Thy Creator has got massive back to school blues right now. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Back to school blues. George, of course, like I said, is in. Your mods are very lovely people. The guys with the blue spanners, they're all spanners. All the mods are spanners. I can get a lot of mileage out of that. The mods are lovely, lovely people. It's like I said, you can swear and stuff in the chat. I don't really, a lot of you all behave anyway. They don't have a lot of work to do, and they are lovely, and they'll keep you safe and look after you. But if you do cross them, they will burn you alive over a very slow spit, and then just dump you into the Atlantic Ocean in a barrel full of acid. So don't cross them. Don't cross them. Be nice. They'll look after you. JS Idaho says, hello, all you good people. Welcome, JS. Eric Graham says, Happy New Year to all. Hope everyone is having a great weekend. I am, and thank you. We have, who else have we got in? We have Gemma's in. Gemma says, hello, everyone. Afternoon, everyone. In fact, I'm just putting words into her mouth now. Hi, Gemma. No sign of Chris at Gross Models, but maybe he's working or shopping or something, or slacking, I don't know. TK is in as well, another one of your mods. TK is in. Welcome, TK. We have, it's moving quite fast. Candygram from Mongo Pop is in. Greetings all. Special tip of the hat to moderator extraordinaire Dad. I'm guessing something's gone on there, but I don't know about that. James Lorimore is in. Welcome, James. James says, I love Canada. This is correct. Wayne Haywood is in as well. Welcome, Wayne. Eric Graham is trying to taunt Dad by saying blue, blue, blue. It's cruel. Paul at Team Inept, another one of your mods, is in. All fine apart from the... Yeah, I won't read that out because it's a rude word. But yes, welcome. Thank you, Paul. Paul at Team Inept. Paul's the one with the banhammer. All my mods can ban you, but Paul is the one who actually has the banhammer, and he actually has it as part of his natural extension of his arm. And he likes using it. He went crazy with the power when I made him a mod. He tries to ban me, and he's my mod. So there you go. So don't cross Paul. Extra special, don't cross Paul. Hello, band. While I'm going through this, Dad, of course, asked the most important question. The most important question. Which is, of course, Happy New Year, he says. What's on your bench and what's in your belly? So, of course, what you're working on right now, what model have you got on your bench, or what project are you in the middle of building? Doesn't have to be a model, could be anything. And what's in your belly? What are you having for your dinner, or what have you had for your dinner today? Mordraka says, bench empty awaiting my next delivery of plastic crack, belly 6 ham, turkey, chicken and Swiss cheese toasties with a few deviled eggs on the side. Ooh, nice. James Lorimer says, I had to close shop, so to speak, and I had beef noodles earlier and I'm drinking tea. Excellent. George says, what have I missed? I wasn't listening. And Dad says, naughty step, George, 5-minute timeout. Loads of random words, no obvious sequence, says Paul at Team Inept. That's what's normal for me. Jamie Bowen says, bench 172nd Airfix Buccaneer, belly nothing, having roast beef and all the trimmings later. There's always a full roast dinner on Sundays for Jamie. Paul, of course, at Team Inept just says rude words. Eric Graham is doing bench planes from Aeronautica Imperialis, belly, not decided yet. I like swearing, it's fun, says Paul, we've noticed. Dad says, hey Gemma, where's Chris? Chat just jumped for some reason. Nim says, Fox, Wendy's or Arby's for lunch? Well, we don't have Wendy's or Arby's in this country, but as a seasoned listener to the Giant Bomb podcast, I'm going to say Wendy's over a pinch over Arby's, because Arby's is apparently terrible and Wendy's is marginally less terrible. So I would say Wendy's. Although I do know a story, my brother who lives in Memphis did tell me a story once about a guy who broke into a Wendy's in the middle of the night, but accidentally broke in through the vent for the big deep fat fryer extractor fan. So he went down the thing, he broke in through the roof and fell down the tube and out of the extractor into a big vat of deep fat, which was closed because obviously it was the middle of the night, because he was burgling it in the middle of the night and they were closed, and he just fried to death. They found him in the morning. So just think of that as you're eating your Wendy's. Let's have a look. Did Fox say this is for grown-up people? Oh, heck, I'll be off to find a childish Wally Street. I never said anything for grown-ups. No one can defeat me, says George, as the stream boss. Yes, only thing is, everybody's an enemy now, George, when you're the stream boss. Chris is apparently... Chris at Chris Models, who's one of your mods who isn't here, is apparently doing some filming right now. Ooh, nice. Wayne Haywood says, belly, curry pot noodle, and blackcurrant cold remedy. Ooh, dear, get better soon. Bench, strontium dog minis. Yes. George can't see at the moment, says Dad, he's on the naughty step for another 3 minutes. There we go. I will reign forever, says George. Yes. You see, you can get away with it now because Simon's not here. There'd be fighting talk if Simon was here. David Butch, that model, says about George being the stream boss, we need to knock him off. He's one of the colonials from the other side of the pond. Damn colonials. Stephen Werner is in. Hello, guys. New to the channel. Greetings from Germany. Welcome, willkommen, Stephen. Welcome to the stream. As you can see, we've been going for 20 minutes and I've done bugger all. Yeah. There's a lot of talking, a lot of waffle, and then I'll get on to some work. So you stick with it. I've tried a new camera angle, by the way, and it's probably ass. So if it sucks, let me know and I'll change it next week. What else is going on? Space Hamster is in. Welcome, Space Hamster. David Butch, that model, has just opened a box of tree revenants and a belly is full of cheese sarnies. David Sanderson says, belly is last night's Chinese takeaway. We had Chinese last night. Singapore noodles and bench foul blight spawn. Space Hamster says, bench still the Skaven doom wheel I mentioned 2 weeks ago. Hangs head in shame. Yeah, I've been doing George's Sazabi for like almost 10 months. So don't worry about it. Belly, probably grilled chicken later. Also, hi Eric and Dad, says Space Hamster. George is resetting his bench so he has a real shot at meeting his resolution. Belly is empty. What else? JS is going to start the Metal Earth Dragonfly model for his wife and pizza for breakfast. Pizza for breakfast is great. Because we had Chinese last night, I had 3 triangle this morning. So I consumed triangle for my breakfast. George says, I am an honorary Brit. This is true. You are the most British of Americans, so we do allow you a lot of leeway. JS Idaho says, Colonials unite. Fox said, yes, you are an honorary. I can't say honorary. Can we come up with some other word? Instead of honor, I don't like honorary. It's like orrery. I don't like the word orrery. There's got to be a different word for it. It's a stupid word. Orrery. Oh, I hate that word. James Larimore says, took a potty break and it's as if nothing's happened. You know what? Nothing has happened. Snowman's in. Might not stay all day. Sorry, only second day out of bed. Had norovirus. Been ill since Monday. I've had that a couple of times. It's not right. I remember many years ago, I used to work in Manchester City Centre. It doesn't really matter what it was a crappy office job, but I used to work in Manchester City Centre, and one day there was a fire alarm went off and we were all called out and went and stood outside. It was in the middle of like January or December, I think it was December. So we all went and stood outside while this fire alarm was going off, and I just suddenly within a millisecond I was like perfectly fine. I was smoking then, so I was perfectly fine, having a quick cigarette and waiting for the alarm to stop so we can go back inside. And I, mulling about the fact I hated my job. And just suddenly, bam, I got the whiteys. I went pale white and I started sweating and I got the cold sweats and I just got weak in my legs. And I'm like, oh, what the hell is this? And I'm like, I can barely stand and I'm going dizzy. And I just had to say to my colleagues, I've got to go home. I just instantly became very, very ill and got on the tram home like patient zero. Somehow got home and went to bed for like 3 days. And I woke up 3 days later and it was like, I don't know if that was norovirus or just flu, but it was like, it just started off as a slight tingle in the back of my legs. And I'm like, what's that? It's if you've been sat down for too long. And I'm like, I don't like this feeling in the back of my legs. It's tingly feeling. And then suddenly, whap, white out, pale, nauseous, sweating. Oh, it was horrible. It was horrible. Yeah, so get well soon, dude. Get better soon, Snowman. Thank you for coming by for as well as you could. I lost 4 pounds in 2 days with norovirus, says Paul. Yeah. I think I probably just had big bad flu. And this is why when I used to work in an office, and I used to be in charge of like people who were off sick and I had to do stuff with them. And they'd be like, yeah, I couldn't come in yesterday. I had the flu. And I'm like, dude, if you had the flu, you'd be off for a week and you wouldn't remember any of it. You had a cold and you were skiving. Get back at your desk. So yeah, people didn't catch any truck with me when they were like, I've got the flu. No, you haven't, because you wouldn't be talking to me. Your mum calling me. So there you go. Right, so anyway, let's crack on. Change glasses. Time for my old man's glasses. I'll just make sure my buttons are working. Hang on.
Slap it on.
Yep, there they are. I've got buttons. If you remember yesterday, if you watched my live stream, my Elite Dangerous live stream, I couldn't use the buttons because of the way it's set up. I couldn't use buttons. I can, of course, use buttons on this live stream because I don't have to do any screen captures, so you will get a lot of
Slap it on.
goodness like that and other things. Of course, they'll probably fall asleep halfway through and then they'll stop working and then I'll swear. What is the application process to become an honorary Brit, asks Eric Graham. It's kind of not set in stone. You just have to be awesome and have a great knowledge of, for example, English swear words or British swear words, British snack foods. Having an enormous tattoo of a Union Jack on your arm kind of helps. And there is that. And hating your own sort of hating your own people and preferring British people is always a winner. That always helps a little bit. If you think your own country is just rubbish and Britain's much better, that always works. I don't mean hating really, but you know what I mean. Try getting what the doctor called traveller's diarrhea when I was in India. Ooh, Delhi belly. Norovirus is rather obvious when you've got it. It comes out of both ends quite spectacularly. Oh dear. Space Hamster lost 10 pounds in a week. I've never seen someone vomit so much in one go. Wendy's it is, and yes, I will post pictures, says Nim, in the middle of a conversation about throwing up from both ends. Well timed. It's like vomiting, diarrhea, vomiting. I'm ordering from Wendy's. Carry on. How do you think I feel? It was coming out of my nose, he said, slightly edited. I've been watching Canadian comedy shows lately, and it's the best stuff I've seen since Blackadder. Yeah. I've never seen anything... Have I ever seen anything Canadian? I don't think I've actually watched, apart from stuff made in Canada, which is usually American. I've never seen anything Canadian. I don't know any Canadian comedy shows. Right. Let's do some goddamn work. Now, we are making, if you remember... we are on issue 41 of the Warhammer Conquest part work, and we're making the Plague Burst Crawler, which I've dragged out for 2 weeks already because I'm a slow individual. And what I did was, off camera from the last show, I went ahead and did the tracks. I got all the wheels put on in the last show, and I said I'll go off and do the tracks. Now, if you make this kit, there's a bit of ass going on here. Now, I'm assuming these are the same instructions that you get with the actual kit, so I'm going to assume the kit instructions are equally as wrong. If you look at this, here's the front. Put it on camera. Here's the front. Here's the back. You notice how these pointy bits on the treads point that way. They've got like a little sticky up shard on the tracks, and they stick backwards. They're supposed to go forwards because it's like a grip. As it goes round, it comes round like that and grips into the soil, but they've gone on backwards. It's because the instructions are completely wrong. When you go through the instructions, it will say, for example, on this side, on the passenger side, if you're in the UK, this is the passenger side, therefore the correct side. This is the passenger side. Off the off side, it says 35, 34, 33 and 32. That's not right, because these 4 pieces and then these pieces here that follow it need to go on that side. So these are totally the wrong parts for that side. They need to go over there, and these pieces need to go over there. So they've got them the wrong way around that way. But also, if you look at the artwork, if you look at the diagrams, the CAD drawings, it shows the spikes pointing forward. It shows the spikes on the tracks actually pointing that way, pointing up, which is what I reproduced. However, they're not supposed to. They're supposed to go the other way. So not only is it reversed with the wrong pieces on, they've just put the wrong numbers in, they've also got the track pieces the other way around. Now, I don't know if it would actually be possible to build it the other way around with these bits point. I assume it is, because I've seen people do it, and I've seen enough posts on forums saying, "Oh, I put the tracks on the wrong way." I looked it up, and it's well known when you've built the first one. So, I mean, I don't particularly care. It doesn't really bother me at all. It's just an aesthetic thing, but it's very annoying that the instructions are completely wrong, and it would have the tracks pointing the wrong way. So I'm assuming you could just switch it all round, but then you've got on these pieces, for example, at one end you've got a notch, at one end you've got a tab sticking out. So I'd have to try it on another one to see if you can actually turn them around the other way. But yes, so I've basically put these tracks are the ones the instructions say go on that side. So keep that in your mind. Keep that in your mind. Advice on how to be British, or honorary Brit. We have Nimson doing. I just got over being sick. I can finally sit on my bench without coughing my lungs up. I was scared to fart for days, says Team Inept. I've had that. Let's have a look. Mordraka says to James, because James was asking how do you become, was it James asking that? How do you become an honorary Brit? I can't remember. My memory's terrible. Whoever it was that said, how do I become an honorary Brit? It was Eric Graham said that. So I don't know how to reply to James. Anyway, you should watch Are You Being Served and Keeping Up Appearances, says Mordraka. Are You Being Served has not aged well. And Keeping Up Appearances is kind of funny but annoying. They're both... Keeping Up Appearances is 1990s and 1980s, and Are You Being Served is not... No. I mean, yeah, watch them, but they're not... You want to watch Dad's Army. Just watch Dad's Army. Nothing's better than Dad's Army. Chris is in, Gross Models. He says, hello, and Paul says, he hath returned from the filmings. Stop filming every Chris, briefly says Chris. Welcome, Chris. Thank you for popping in. Another one of your mods who will kill you if you cross him, but he's a lovely, fluffy bloke, really. David Butcher, that model, says, the fast way to be British by default is to like Twiglets, warm beer, doner kebabs, and watch lots of Coronation Street and EastEnders to learn British slang and life. Except take out the EastEnders bit, because that's a housewives programme. In fact, I've got to say this, but soap operas nowadays, they're rubbish. Because my Mama Fox sits downstairs and she watches... On one of the channels, they have old Coronation Street from like the 1980s. And it's great because it's all about the characters. You watch Coronation Street today, it's just A, having an affair with B, and then C is something to do with drugs, and then D has got a criminal thing going on. But it's all just, the characters are, it's just like sex. It's all sex, basically. And glamorous people. I'm like, there's no Jack Duckworth and Vera Duckworth. There's no characters. There's no Bet Lynch. It's just rubbish. So modern soaps, don't watch modern soaps. They're just absolute drivel. They're housewife programmes. I'm sorry to say it, but they are. No one intelligent should watch soap operas. Let me scan up the chat because somebody says we were watching it earlier. But I spotted that fox and put them on the correct way around, says Dad. That's a first for me. Yeah, I hadn't been made aware of the tracks being the wrong way around in the instructions, so I just went ahead and built. I did spot that they were on the wrong side, so I thought, okay, that's wrong. That doesn't fit because they didn't lock together. So I just swapped them over. But I didn't spot the tread. There was that sitcom John Cleese did, and I'm trying to find it. That'll be Fawlty Towers, Fawlty, Fawlty Towers. Dinner Ladies, says Dad. Yep, Dinner Ladies is very, very good. Blackadder is very, very good. You need to watch that. It Ain't Our Fault, Mum, says David Sanderson. It's not aged well. It's exceptionally racist and homophobic. That's why it's never been shown again on British TV, because they can't justify showing it. It's classic, but it's of its time, let's say. George Gable says, I like your trash TV like First Dates. I'm pretty upset I can't watch it here. I can't do... One thing you need to watch, George, you need to watch Police Interceptors, but ignore series 1 to 8. Go from season 9 onwards, if you can find them somewhere. Police Interceptors. Season 9 onwards, awesome TV. Chris Gross Model says he's procrastinating starting the Baneblade painting. Strangely, I am not looking forward to it. Fox, show us those great bust photos from your new book. Oh, yes. I shall do in a minute. I've got to do some work. My daughter won that show, George, says Dad. I'm assuming that's the First Dates show. On the buses. Oh, that's not. Lots of 1970s comedy hasn't aged well at all. Dad's Army is timeless and will never age. That'll be perfect forever. Right, okay, before we get going then, I will show you one thing. If you remember, a few days ago, I don't know if this will even fit on the telly, but a few days ago in the Boom Hut, which, if you're not a member of the Boom Hut, by the way, do go and become, I've just pressed the button, do go and become a member of the Boom Hut. It's the best group for model making. Somebody posted up a book from, they had a vintage model making book, and I was prompted to go off and buy, because I couldn't find my copies, a couple of books that I had when I was growing up. And I was growing up and learning about model making in the 80s and the late 70s. And I had 2 books. One of them I'm not going to show you, but this one is the Encyclopedia of Military Modelling. And it was done in about 1979, 1980, and it's pretty much completely irrelevant by today's standards, because a lot of the stuff it discusses is completely just not even relevant. And a lot of the actual artwork and the models made are terrible, because they had a lot less resources, a lot less paint and stuff like that. So a lot of the builds in here, you'll look at them and think, God, I was doing that when I was 12 and I'm much better now. So there's a lot of real trash in here. It says, this is how you must paint a model, and you look at it and go, I can do better than that. But I have to point out, he credits all the builders of the photographs he's used. Okay, but there's one builder. There's one builder, and I don't know anything about him, but he's credited as Bernie Harris. So somebody out there will know Bernie Harris, probably. But he seemed to take, I'm not showing you that, don't worry about that. He seemed to take this one particular, in this book at least, he takes one particular Airfix 1/16 scale figure, and he modifies it to be lots of other figures. It's a Napoleonic, I don't know, what is it? It's I'll show you in a minute. It's an Imperial Guard, but like a vintage, like Napoleonic era Imperial Guard. So it's a 1/16 scale dude with a musket and stuff. And he customises it and changes the legs and arms to be lots of different things, like Napoleon and other things. But you've got to see this. Bear in mind, this is a 1/16 scale figure, and this is classed as professional model making. Can I just show you that? What is this? What is this scenario here? Can you see? I'll zoom in to just give you the full horror. Hang on. I'll zoom in a bit so you can have the full horror of this. I'll get the light out of the way. Can I just point out what is this scenario here? I don't quite understand what's happening with the mouth area. This is 1/16 scale. This guy's quite a big, tall size, and he seems to do this on lots of his. He gives them like this, like they've gone a bit wrong with the lipstick over their entire face. And it's really quite weird, because I don't understand. So there's another one. There's a classic one in here. I don't understand how someone can exist in the real world where people actually look at everybody's, other people's mouths, and not see how mouths actually work. There's another one. I can't find it now. I won't waste too much time on this, but where is it? Oh, I might be able to find it now. And then there's things like this, where you have a 1/35 scale figure in a diorama. There's paint. He's got paint missing off the foot, and there's a honking great seam line right down the arm, and he's not put any texture or depth on the uniform. And it's like, these are professional builds. Wow. Yeah, I'm just going to close that book. So it was a bit of a memory lane for me, because when I was looking at this book as a youngster, I was looking at all these builds going, wow, I really wish I could build like that and paint like that. And looking back on it now, I'm like, dear God, I hope I never build like that and never paint like that. It's amazing how much information that book is completely irrelevant. I've got another book that says about painting. It's got a section this thick on painting. That much of it is airbrushing, and it basically says you can't afford it, don't bother, use brush painting instead. And it says to brush paint you must use oil-based enamel paints, and that's it, end of discussion. I'm like, wow. A quick look at chat and see what they say. Got to ask, what is police interceptors? Sort of like the US version of cops. Police interceptors is they embed a camera crew with traffic cops, basically, the guys that have the high-powered cars that do all kinds of different things. But it's got a slight sense of humour to it as well, so it's not just serious, boring nonsense. It follows the individual policemen, and it gives you little profiles of them, and you get to know them, and they stay in the same police department, like they might do Humberside one season and Cheshire the next, and you get to know all the different personalities, and it can be quite funny. So it's worth watching. It's one of the better embedded camera crew type police things. But yeah, season 9 onwards, because that's when it's the commentator from Road Wars that does the narration. He makes it funnier. Season before that, it's not really worth watching. Not The Interceptor, although that's worth watching. And it's Police Interceptors. Police Interceptors. Anyway, let's have a look. Someone had too much Botox. Paul just loves that face, he says. Duck face Napoleon. There is a Napoleon in that book. I just couldn't find it, and he's got the same red nonsense. It's like, at what point did you look at a human being and see this like glowing red circle around their mouth, apart from a clown at the circus? And it's like, it's the head's like this big on a 1/16 scale figure. It's like a full bust size. So how he's done that, I don't know. He can paint eyes better than I can, though, says Paul at Team Inept. Yeah, there is that. Duckface Napoleon, we've done that one. That is hilarious, says George to Dave. David Butch, that model, says, because he works in a supermarket, he says, George, we play stealth supermarket sweep at work. We have to try and sneak a strange item into someone suspecting shopper's cart. I won last year's by dropping a pack of condoms into a non-shopping cart. That's classic. Anyway, yes, let's crack on. Let's stop waffling now. Let's get prevaricating. We've gone for 40 minutes. So, yes, I do recommend, if you have access to, if you go to a car boot sale or a garage sale and you see some old like how to do model making books, especially from the 70s, it really is worth picking them. It's like a couple of quid. It's worth picking them up, because I've got a couple and some of them do have some good advice in there. One of them has a section how to photograph models, and it's actually relevant even today, so that's quite cool. But a lot of them, it's just for the fun value, because they're so bad, they're so terrible. Right, we have to put on the side parts. Gentlemen, prepare your side parts. I'm going to do some work. I'm going to find somewhere to put the instructions. There's not enough space. Put Guthorn back there. Right. Too many things. So we have 2 side skirts to do. I've stuck the little gun on the front. I did go for the Rothail volley gun on the advice of Mordraka, who said that's a better gun. I need to cut out parts 56 and 55. A few people are saying Happy New Year. Frankie Ghost Hobbywood is in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy New Year. To save time, everybody who's saying Happy New Year, I say Happy New Year back to you. Otherwise, we'll be here all day. Get these parts out. I'm just cutting them out like I assume it's the right part. So yeah, it's worth looking at some of these old model making books. It was more of an eye-opener just to look at the quality of some of the paint jobs. Like reading this one book, and it's talking about weathering. And its basic thing on weathering was basically, you finish painting your model now. It says a good weathering layer will make it look fantastic. Here's what you do. Thin down some black paint and apply that as a wash. Then dry brush silver over bits where you want the paint to be chipped. Weathering done. It says you can obviously, if you want to, take a dusty sandy colour and do a wash out of that as well for dust. That was it. That's the entire weathering process. Black wash, dirt wash, silver dry brush, done. I'm like, wow. Edward Lender says, Fox, where is Duncan going? Oh yeah, if anybody doesn't know, by the way, right at the end of the year, our Lord and Saviour Duncan from Warhammer TV announced that he was actually leaving Games Workshop at the end of the year. Now, from information gathered and received here at Guru Towers, it has been on the cards for quite a while. It's not just, it didn't suddenly go, I'm leaving by. It's obviously been on the cards for a while, because that's why they got things like Nick Baton involved in the video production team, because they've known he's going. But I don't think it's actually said officially where he's going to. He's obviously had an offer from somewhere. And the one thing I've heard, again, from various sources, is that working at GW is not the dream job you might think it is. It's not the best paid job in the world. And so on and so on. I'm not going to go too inside baseball. But, yeah, so he's moving. He's not said officially, but he has in the last few days posted up some pictures of different things he's built and painted. One of them was like some kind of Napoleonic thing from Warlord Games, and one was some German troops and a half-track, again from Warlord Games. Now, if I remember rightly, Warlord Games are just down the road in Nottingham from Games Workshop anyway, so it wouldn't surprise me if he'd had an offer to come work for Warlord Games, because they're close by. You know, why not? The question is, why is he leaving? Says David Sanderson. He hasn't said publicly, so it's not for us to assume. I have information from various sources, but it's not really information I want to, you know, publicly share. So, but yeah, I've had some suggestions from various people as to what's gone on. But yeah, it's not stuff I want to really publicly share or make. It's not for the public consumption, as it were. Boo-boo-doo. So you might be going to Warlord Games, and we can only hope. I mean, you have to really, for any company who's taken him on, be it Warlord Games or anybody, whoever takes him on, absolutely, they have got an absolute golden leg laying goose there. It will be an absolute shame if he didn't get involved in if he didn't do wherever he's gone what he's doing now, sort of, you know, tutorials and stuff, because you'd be surprised how many people watch Warhammer TV just for Duncan. There's a lot of people who, you know, they might put up with Peachy, they might occasionally watch one of Nick's videos, but they're really there for Duncan. Duncan's the reason they're there. Duncan's the best teacher they've had, and now he's gone, I think you'll suddenly find their viewership might drop. I mean, I'm going to be perfectly honest, and this is my opinion, this is nobody else's, this is my opinion personally. I think the quality of the video tutorials on Warhammer TV has just gone down the toilet, because they're just it's all battle ready stuff now, which is fine for absolute newbies who don't even know how to paint. But for those of us, there's two reasons you watch Warhammer TV videos. One, you want to know how to paint the thing. Or two, you just want to watch it because it's fun to watch Duncan paint stuff, because he's quite relaxing to watch. And you know, my personal honest opinion, I love videos that Duncan did. I was okay with videos that Peachy did, because that was more I watched Peachy's stuff for more technical, how to paint things, like just you know, ideas for colour schemes and stuff like that. I don't watch Nick's videos. I don't know. It's just something about Nick that doesn't work for me. Nothing personal against the guy. It just doesn't. I can't watch him. Just doesn't work for me at all. I find you know, I'll sit there and watch Duncan all day, but Nick, doesn't do anything for me. So yeah, there's no real reason for me now to watch Warhammer TV, because they're just doing battle ready stuff, which it's mostly like all these like constant non-stop battle ready videos. Here's how to paint this thing battle ready, which means here's how to paint it really, really badly, because all the battle ready stuff looks like absolute garbage. It does. It looks terrible. It's not even tabletop. It just really is. Slap some contrast paints on, done. And I've got no reason to watch that. I have no interest in that. I'm not going to learn anything, and it's not interesting. I'm not going to learn. You know, I would watch Duncan paint something because it'd be like, cool, now I know how to paint that thing. I'm not going to watch Nick or Peachy paint something in battle ready, because so it has been going downhill. There's no when they do a very occasional proper painting video, but it's just not. It's not there. I'll probably still watch the occasional proper painting video that Peachy does, but no offense to Peachy, but you know, a lot of people watch it purely to chill out watching Duncan because of the way he presented. So wherever he's gone, it's brilliant. They've absolutely just bought themselves the golden goose there. Now I do know that Duncan is not, you know, he's not extroverted. He was never comfortable doing that kind of public facing stuff. He said that himself in the past before. It was never really his comfort zone to sit there doing public facing stuff, and he even said, you know, in an interview once, if you do meet me in real life, I'm really sorry, I'm actually quite disappointing. Bless him. And he said that publicly. He was never, you know, that comfortable with it. So it may well be that he doesn't do that and he goes off and does something else. He may just join a painting team or a PR team. It'd be a shame though to lose him making videos, and it'd be an absolute missed opportunity for his new employer not to get him making painting videos, because that's what he's known for, and that's why people watch Warhammer TV. I think they'll find their viewership suddenly drops through the floor, because nobody cares about Peachy and well, nobody cares about Nick. Most people don't care about Peachy, but they get on, they like him. But they watched it for Duncan. David Sanderson says Darren Latham's channel is good for tutorials. Yeah, I must start watching his stuff. Darren Latham is a GW employee. He's a painter, I think, isn't he? But he has his own YouTube channel, nothing to do with GW. He just has his own channel. It's really good stuff. He did mention it on Twitter, Fox. Says Dad, is that where he's going? I didn't miss what he said. I didn't miss. Oh, as he said he's going to Warlord. Okay, cool. I must have missed that tweet then. I'm going to put the cat in the pigeons by saying Duncan is a fantastic painter, but I prefer Peachy's painting style. Peachy is a good painter. It's just that if you look at some of the stuff he's done where he's not been filmed doing it, like his own builds, he can do some fantastic paint jobs, and I really respect Peachy quite a lot. He's just not got that vibe that Duncan has. But then again, you know, nobody has. But I would sit and watch Peachy's stuff. That's not a problem. But I won't sit and watch any of them painting battle-ready crap. It's just rubbish. It's absolute garbage. There's nothing for me to watch with a battle-ready video. I just missed a proper half-hour long, here's a new model, here's how you paint it. Done. That's how it should be. Now, the question I have here is, do I glue these on and cover up all the detail that I want to paint, or do I leave them off so I can paint, not all of it, because you're not going to see any of that. Do I leave these off for priming? I get the feeling I'm not going to be able to leave them off for priming and painting, because they're going to have to go on. Let me have a linky thinky. See, I glue them on, and I can't then get access to any of that under there. I can get a primer under there. You're not going to see it. Yeah, I'll glue them on. I just realised they had Peachy and Duncan, says Paul. Let's get ready to rumble. I don't know what that means. Darren is a sculptor. Okay, that's right. I knew it was something. Darren's one of the sculptors. I don't care for the characters presenting, says David Sanderson, just on how to do it. Well, that's the thing. In the Duncan days, he was a great guy to watch painting, and also he told you how to do it. Now they're just showing you how to paint like a 5-year-old, and there's no, the people aren't fun to watch, and Peachy's all right, but now they're just saying, here's how you paint it like you were 5 years old and you've got no talent whatsoever. Well, nobody wants to know how to do that, being perfectly honest. I don't know who they're aiming them at now, but it's not watchable. I'm still subscribed to their YouTube channel, and I'll still watch when one pops up that isn't just doesn't say battle ready on it. And they're going back to like old models and saying how to paint, some old stuff you painted 20 years ago. How to paint these old models like battle ready. And it's like, when are you going to paint like some of the new kits that have come out? When are you going to show proper painting guides for some of this new stuff that's come out over the last few months? We've missed loads of stuff painting guides. But I mean, I don't mind going back over the old stuff. It's always nice to have a catalogue, because people still buy things like, Bane Blades and Storm Ravens and all that kind of stuff. There's no reason not to have a painting guide, but when you're focusing on just how to paint whatever it is, Imperial Cadian Troopers in 5 seconds using 3 contrast paints, so it looks absolute garbage. Who's that for? Don't know. There's nothing there for me to watch now. Occasionally one of the proper painting videos comes up, and all I do is I hover over the thumbnail. If it's Peachy, I'll watch it. If it's Nick, I won't. And there you go. We'll sorely miss those proper painting guides. What will be interesting though, and I'll tell you this for nothing, what's going to be fascinating is watching Duncan, if he does do video content, is watching Duncan paint using other people's paints, like using Vallejo. And some of the pictures he's posted up of some of the stuff he's done, it's fairly obvious he's done things like use pigments and powders. And that's like, wow, powders and pigments. Maybe he'll even, you never know, maybe he'll even get an airbrush, get using an airbrush. That'd be cool. Doodle-doo, doodle-doo-doo-doo. But that's the thing with Duncan, people go crazy about it, and it's a bit of meme-ish, but at the end of the day, he was a very good painter, and he had a personality where you could just sit and watch and learn. And, I would love to be that kind of skilled at painting and presenting. I'm not, I'm just some guy that waffles on while I do a bit of painting or building, whatever, but to have those skills, to have that kind of ability. It's fantastic. It's very rare. So, yeah, so, don't know. Wherever he's gone, hopefully we'll get him doing something like that. Because they'll be missing a massive trick. If they just put him on a painting team, that's playing to one of his strengths, but not both of his strengths. PJ and Duncan from Biker Grove. Oh, okay, I see what you mean. YA Spuggy, Biker Grove. PJ and Duncan, or Ant and Dec as we know them. Down on Biker Grove, YA. Right, so in coming up to 1 hour, I've done 2 parts. Yeah. Picture up in the boom hut of my lunch. Cool, good girl. Right, more parts. What's next? So it's a shame anyway. It's a shame. There's no reason for me to watch their content anymore, really. So I need... next I've got to make the mortar that goes in the middle. Yes, if you're... Nim's put a post up in the boom hut with her lunch. If you want to add a picture of your bench and belly, do feel free. We kind of started doing this post in the boom hut each week of, like, you know, bench and belly post, but nobody ever really puts much in it, so I'm kind of not bothered now. But yes, if you want to add to that. If you're talking about something in chat and you need to share a picture of something, whatever it might be, use that post. Why not? Make it today's official stream post. So I need 60, 61, and 62. Put that over there. 60, 61, and 62. So 60 and 61. So I'm just taking them off the sprue with the Games Workshop's Chunky Monkey industrial strength clippers. Just to get them off a test sprue first and foremost. So anyways, I hope you all had a good New Year and a good Christy Mars and all that. I've not had a show for a couple of weeks. Not much been going on here at Guru Towers, just chill times. Family came over. Time with friends. Just chillaxing and relaxing over the last couple of weeks because it's that time of year. I need part 62, which is this big chunky boy here. I think it is. Yeah, that's 67. That's 62. There we go. Chunky boy. I've got the camera there, but it means I've got very little place to have an entire sprue because I've either got my cup of tea or Guthorm right in the way. Clunk. So I'll get these cleaned up. Doodle-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Athol says, Fox, January 5th dinner. January 5th dinner? Will be boar burger with fried egg and some salad stuff. Ooh, boar burger, you say? Wild boar's nice. It's got real strong flavour to it. I like wild boar. Let me just adjust something here. Make sure I'm not zoomed in. There we go. We're looking a bit dark. I don't know why we're looking quite dark today. I've got all the lights on. Don't quite know why. Get rid of little niblets. Trying to think of what's been going on in the last couple of weeks. Anything to update you about? Not really. So I've not been doing much over the last couple of weeks. I've got the next lot of X-Wing magazines to fill. I thought I might have, because I made some inquiries with them about some stuff and thought I maybe kiboshed it and killed my subscription, but I hadn't. So I've got another X-Wing issue to film. I think issues 10 and 11. I've got the next batch of Warhammer Conquest magazines. I need to film the what's in the box type stuff, the quick look. And what else has been going on? Not a vast amount has been happening. I'm not going to trim them yet because I want to get this together first. We'll trim them. Have a quick look at what this looks like. That goes on there, and then it just slots in there. Okay. Handy tip for you. I've said this before. When you've got a cylinder of some sort. Where's the camera? When you've got a cylinder of some sort, and you can see there's nubs here. There's 2 nubs there, and there's 2 nubs there, and there's little nubs on here. I'm going to trim these nubs on the top now, but I'm not going to touch the ones on the sides of the cylinder, and I'll explain that in a moment. because it's a handy time-saving tip, which you probably know anyway. If you're a regular viewer, you'll know what I'm about to say anyway. Little nubs. Now this is a Death Guard vehicle, and it's got lots of little sort of nicks and cuts. Where's the camera? I've not got any idea where the camera is because I've moved it. I've got my little marker there, but it still seems a bit off. There's lots of little nicks and like pock marks and dings and cuts. So the advantage with Death Guard and Chaos vehicles is you don't have to be too careful with the trimming and cleaning, because you can have a few nicks and cuts here from, you know, from things like knives, and it's fine because it just fits in with the character of the vehicle. So I'm not being too careful with the trimming on these bits. So I'm going to trim this end part where there's some little knobs. Again, not being too careful. Have a look at chat in a moment. Looks like Guthor is watching the chat. Yeah, Guthorm is watching the chat. He's not watching me work because he'll stick out too far and then he'll just get dinged by all the equipment. So Guthorm watches the chat. While I'm doing this, don't forget, of course, quick shout out to the people that support this channel. Of course, my lovely patrons, my Patreon supporters. But like I said before at the start, I do this for a living. This is my job, and it's because of the very great kindness of my patrons who support me financially that I can keep doing this as my job. So a massive shout out to my patrons. If you'd like to support this channel directly, you can do. The address is there. It's patreon.com/modelmakingguru. You can support it with as much or as little as you like, and it's all gratefully accepted because that's my income. That's how I make my living. That pays the bills, keeps me in food and electricity and heat and light, and very occasionally, you know, a bit of model kick action. But yeah, my patrons, thank you massively to all my patrons. I love them dearly. Of course, you can support my channel in other ways. I do have an official sponsor. That's emodels.co.uk. Address is in the description below the video, but there's the address in the chat. Your one-stop shop for your traditional model making needs. They're super awesome, friendly guys, whether you're making tanks or planes or anything like that. And they now stock Warhammer stuff as well. They're your go-to place, and they sponsor my channel, so go and check them out. There's, I say, the address is in the link below. Link is in the description below the video. Get my words out. And also, of course, Goblin Gaming proudly support my channel. They are your tabletop gaming models specialists. So anything. It's not just like plastic stuff. It's, you know, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon card game type stuff, tabletop games like board games, and Warhammer and everything else. They do offer 20% off RRP for Warhammer, Conflict 47, and Malifaux. And there is a link in the description below the video. If you do go to them there, the difference with them is the link to their store. Use the one in the description below my video, because that's my affiliate link. And every time you order stuff from Goblin Gaming, if you're in the EU or the UK, and use my link to get to their store, they know that I've sent you, and I earn a little tiny bit of income. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but I earn a little bit of commission on your order. So make sure, if you're ordering stuff, your tabletop stuff, go to them. Use the link in the description below this video, the one that's in the chat, and that will help me out massively. They're just indirect ways that it doesn't cost you anything. You're ordering stuff from them anyway. It just helps me out. And last of all, of course, there is an Amazon link in the description below the video. That's for my Amazon store. I've got one in the US and one in the UK for all your US and UK Amazon buyers. Before you go and buy something on Amazon, check out my store. I may have it in there, and you can get it from there. Again, it costs you nothing whatsoever, but it really helps my channel out if you use that link in the description below. If there's something that you want and it's not in my store, give me a shout. I can add it within seconds. It's not a problem. And that way, you're ordering stuff you were going to buy anyway, but you're helping my channel out. And last but not least, of course, if you really want to help the channel out but don't want to spend anything, just like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. That really helps me out as well. Right. My youngest, James Larimore. Hang on, I've got some things about Christmas. I'll get to that in a minute. So we've got the parts of the big fat tube cannon. It's the Plague Burst mortar. We've got nubs here on either side. I'll zoom in a bit so you can see. There we go. You've got nubbage going on here, as you can see there. You see? You'll see quite there's nubs here on either side and nubs there on either side. I've sanded the ones on the end. I've not touched these because If I just try and sand these nubs down individually as two separate pieces, I'll end up with two separate pieces that have different heights because I'm going to be sanding them down. The safest way to do anything on a tube or a cylinder is to glue it together first and deal with the nubs afterwards. Because what you'll do is I'll be getting rid of the nubs and sealing this little seam line at the same time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some Tamiya extra thin. I'm going to run that along as best I can. I'll do it on the inside a bit neater. Run it along as best I can. Open up the crack a little bit, just a little tiny bit, so I can get some glue going in there. Just a tiny amount, so I can get the glue to feed in. Have this on camera. You've seen me do this before. Gunpla builders know all about using the glue to fill tiny gaps. This is a tiny, tiny gap. It's not the kind of thing you need to worry about getting filler for. If you know me, you know my stuff, you know that I am a lazy MF. I am lazy as. And I firmly believe there is nothing wrong with taking the quickest path to something. So I've got some glue in there. It's Tamiya extra thin. What I'm going to do is I've given it a few seconds. I'm going to squish it together. Squish. Squish. Squish it together. Squish it together. And because it's had a few seconds to make the plastic melt, it's a welding cement. It melts the plastic together. It welds two pieces together by liquidizing the polystyrene. We're using that to our advantage. It's melted some plastic. I'm pushing it together. It goes and squeezes out like toothpaste out of a tube. A little tiny bit bubbles out of that gap, fills it, makes a little bead of plastic polystyrene over the gap. Once that's dried, I can come back and sand that. Sand it smooth. I'll be sanding away the excess plastic that's filling the gap, and I'll also sand away that nub. And that way, when I've sanded that back, and maybe we'll do it before the end of the show, it will now have a nice cylinder with no seam line because it's been filled by the gunk, and no nubs, and it's nice and smooth. So there you go. Moore says, being up for close to 96 hours straight is now starting to catch up with me, so I'll call it a night. Goes back to lurking mode. Thank you very much, Moore. You shouldn't have been up that long. I didn't know you were doing that. You should have gone to bed. Don't watch me if you've been up for 96 hours. But thank you for coming in. Take care, and we'll see you next week. Simon Reynolds is in, says beep boop. George, your wild Simon appears. It uses beep boop. It's super effective. Yes, George, how's that bravado now, my friend? How you doing, Si? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Right, I'm off to watch my girlfriend riding a motorcycle in Argentina and I think crashed, says Athel. I don't know what that means, but if I hope she's alright. Hope it's nothing serious. But thanks for stopping by, dude. Still the king, says Cy Reynolds. Nim, George is just an imposter. Oh, yeah. Right, let's go back and have a look at the chat before I glue that together. Where are we? Nim says, my Christmas was awesome. I started the next generation on building models. My older nephews built both Gumplers. Both built Gumplers. I got one an SD GM ground type, but they've got an HG MS8 ground type. Cool. My niece and youngest nephew got Legos. Frankie goes to Hollywood, says, hot dogs in my belly. Ferrari 328 GTS on the bench for a GB. Cool. My youngest daughter, says James, built and put the stickers on an SD Unicorn Gundam Destroy mode, and she loved the hell out of it. Cool. Always get the younger generation addicted as young as possible. And this is where he stabs himself with a sanding stick, says Dave. No. I would say someone text Fox while I was trimming with the knife, but it's too late. Right, we've got some fighting talk. George says, I can't be defeated. Cy Reynolds, I mean, I could topple you right now. George, I am a god among stream bosses. Cy Reynolds, with your own money. Muhahaha. Yeah, there we go. It's a fight going on. Well, it's cheating if you use my money to do it, says George. I'm not even going to get involved. Right, so you've got that big squidge of glue. We're going to leave that to dry. This can, of course, just go in. I think this just sits in the top. I can just see, like, Stream Boss now for the next 8 months just being George and Simon just paying for each other to be Stream Boss. And not, you know, like, brilliant, you've won 500 quid worth of stuff, except you paid for it, so it's not really winning. Yeah, I don't know. What are you two like? When the competitive thing goes a bit over the top. Right, so there we go. I'm going to do some funky lining up of rivets with holes. Just why not? Make it look at least neat and tidy. There we go. It would be very funny if someone put in almost enough to win, but not quite, and someone else got it with 12p. That's the thing. This is the thing with the stream boss battle. It's like I've said before. It's like doing an eBay auction. You know, you could just, if you wanted to, put in a big fat load of money and become stream boss. But there's no fun in that, because all you're doing is you're buying all the stuff you're going to win. Because remember, you win the community pot, you win the pot of money. So if the pot is, say, let's say, because I change it all the time, but let's say for just a random figure, let's say the amount of money you need to get from full health to 0 is 400 quid. You just put 400 quid in, brilliant. Now I order then 400 quid worth of Games Workshop stuff for you. You've just bought yourself Games Workshop stuff. You've not won anything. But if you put in a £10 and everybody else starts putting money in, and then the last person who wins it puts in a £5 and wins and gets the health to 0 on that last £5, they've just paid £5 to win hundreds of pounds of the stuff. That's the fun, you see. Do you all do individual lots of little tiny bits and see who wins? Because there's no fun you just buying it yourself then. I'm just here for the comments, says Eric. Phil Lewis says that occurred to him on the Sidewinder stream about the last person to put... The last person could put like $1 in and win. If there was like 1 HP left or so, however many it is. The last person could put literally like a couple of quid in and become the stream boss. If it was done, you know. That's how it works, you see. Doodly-doo-doo-doo-doo. Simon Reynolds says, I mean, I've not been around recently. It's like somebody just jumped in me grave. Model making guru, you may need to explain that saying for our colonial imposter. I've never heard this phrase, jumped... Oh, yeah. Oh, I see. Yes, I have heard the phrase. Yes. Yes, it's. I think it's very self-evident. It's like, you know, it's like... imagine you're leaving your job. And before you've even finished your last day, your replacement's already there at your desk working. You're like, wow, did you jump in my grave so fast? That's the kind of thing. Right, so we're going to leave that for a little while. The Plague Burst Mortar. Let that glue go hard. Oh, we might not need to. 59 and 58 might actually cover up that seam line. 59 and also 58. 59, 58. Okay, might not need to worry about that seam line. Big honking nubs here, so I'm using the reasonably indestructible and scattergun approach Games Workshop nippers. I would not use my god hands to get these off the sprue because it would just destroy them. But I'm leaving a little bit of sprue left. I always seem to miss one. It's there underneath. Gosh darn it. If you're not familiar with this part work, by the way, the Warhammer Conquest, which I'm sure all of you are because you're all regular viewers. If you're not familiar, it's a part work by Hachette Publications over the course of 80 issues, which is 2 years. You will build up not only an entire Death Guard army, but also an entire Space Marine army. And over the course of those 80 issues, it'll teach you how to play Warhammer 40k, starting off with simple skirmishes and working you up to more complex battles. And by the end of it, you'll have an Imperial and a Death Guard army. And it's no small measure because, basically, it's an amazing deal. Because you're getting... Now, somebody can obviously put the correct numbers in there. I'm going to have to pull it out of my arse again, as I always do. But it's something like 1,100 quid's worth of models and equipment and dice and... you know, books and stuff, something like 1,100 quid's worth of stuff for about 700 quid or 800 quid, something like that. You are making massive savings compared to if you went out and bought all the stuff individually without the magazine, without the subscription to the magazine. And it's really cool. So yeah, thanks to George's awesome kindness, he's helping to fund this. So what that means is I was hoping to be able to do this, but I wasn't going to be able to because I couldn't afford it. George stepped in and said, yeah, we'll do this part work. But what's going to happen is we've come to the agreement because of George's help. Once this whole thing is done and everything's been painted, we're going to split it. I'm still zoomed in, aren't I? Nobody told me that. Dad, where are you telling me I'm zoomed in when I... Failage. Yeah, what's going to happen is, once everything's built and painted, George is going to get the Space Marines army. So he's going to inherit that. And I'm going to keep the Death Guard. And we think we know what we're going to paint the Space Marines as. It's not going to be Ultramarines. Now, if you notice, when I've been filming this series, the original plan was that I would, as each magazine came along, I would paint most of the models as it tells you in the magazine. I'd follow the magazine guide and film painting them. And then for some of the models, like the vehicles and characters, I would do a proper full-on professional paint job and do a proper painting video for them. However, that was rubbish, and it was boring, and it took forever, and also it didn't look good. And I suddenly realised I was wasting my time. There's no point showing you how to do what the magazine shows you how to do. And I thought, you know what, I'm just wasting my own time here. So I stopped. So that's what we're doing now. What we're doing now is we are getting everything built. I've stopped the painting, getting everything built. Once everything's built and there's no more magazines to come, I will take all the ones I've already sort of partially painted. I will strip them completely, strip the paint off, and we will start again. And everything will get a painting video, and everything will get a proper full-on paint job. There'll be no paint it like the magazine nonsense. Because there's no point me parroting what the magazine says. There's really no point. It doesn't do anybody any favours. And it's just wasting my time. It's a week of work to show you what you can see in the magazine. And it wasn't that good a paint job anyway. So, yeah. So, that's what we're going to do. So, for the coming months, I'm just going to be basically getting all this stuff built. Which is why I'm doing it on the Warhammer Sundays. Because it's a constant supply of stuff to do on Warhammer Sundays then. And once it's done, I can then start proper filming, proper painting videos. Because all the content I can get from these will keep me going all year. Fantastic. So that'll be great for me. And yes, George will get the Space Marines, the Space Marines. And I will get the Death Guardings. So we'll do the Space Marines first, basically. Now, it's not going to be like one episode per model. So I'm not going to do like, in this episode we're going to paint a Space Marine. In the next episode we're going to paint a Space Marine. The next step, because you get like 20 or 30 Space Marines, intercessors and all different. I'm not going to do that. What I'll do is I'll take one of each thing. So for example, I'll take like one intercessor and I'll show you how to paint it, how I'm going to paint it. And then I'll take like one whatever rank and file troop is, and I'll paint one. Like on Death Guard, I'll paint one Plague Marine, but of course it applies to all of them. Then I'll paint one of the more senior, and I'll do them all. So if there's like 3 or 4 of like Poxwalkers, we get 40 of them. I'm going to paint 1 or 2. I'm not going to show painting every single miniature. Where there's duplications, we'll just do 1 and do them as batch painting. So that's how that's going to work. I made a right mess of that now. I made it all scratchy. Oh, fudge. But that'll give me a lot of content for next year, which will be cool. I just realised there's no point in me filming what is in the magazine. Just absolutely no point parroting the magazine contents because it doesn't help anybody. Right, this goes into there. So I need to put that on there. And it sits over. So, how does it sit over? It's not... Oh, I'm not cleaning that up yet. Oh, nub marks I hadn't spotted. David Butcher, that model, says, George, please pick Ultramarines. Fox will love painting them. No, George thinks Ultramarines are just as boring as I do. They won't be Ultramarines, trust me on that. We have had some conversations. It's always in flux, but I can pretty much guarantee they won't be Ultramarines. Question, Fox, which issue of Build Your Own X-Wing comes with the binder? I can't remember. I think it's 8 or 9 or something. I can't remember which issues I've just received. I think I've got 10 and 11 in a box. So I think it's 8 or 9 or something. It's on like your 3rd or 4th delivery. But the one thing I hadn't realised, I think this is the case. I didn't realise this. With Hachette's 40k Conquest, you receive 4, if you're on the premium package, you receive 4 binders. And then what you do at the end is you have like 4 sections, red, blue, green, and whatever this one is, red, blue, green, and yellow. You split them up into the 4 different sections, one for red, one for fluff, one for how to play the game, one for building, and one for painting. With the X-Wing, you get one, but I think this is it. With the X-Wing, they give you one binder. Even on the premium package, you get one binder, and then if you want more than that, you have to order them from D'Agostini. So, minus points there for D'Agostini, because you're going to need more than one binder. So, yeah. Maverick Wildwolf says, "Hi folks, well it did help me. I knew the magazine was awful for the painting guide, and I found your channel by looking how to paint them better with the paints they sent to you." Aha. Well, there is some merit to it. I mean, it is, you know, I did add some 3-dimensionality just to how to paint it in the magazine, but what I would hope is that when I actually show you how to paint them properly, you'll realise it's not really any more complex than what the magazine was showing in terms of skill level, but you can make it look a lot better by doing more. So my trick has always been to show people that you can get hardcore looking results without being some kind of devil paint master, because a lot of the tricks of the trade are really simple and straightforward and not like some dark art. So that's what I'm hoping, is that my tutorials won't be any more complex than the ones in the magazine in terms of the actual skill level required, but they will take it a lot further. I need to... How is this? Is this going to go together like this? Yes. Do I need to do these? Okay, we've got the similar situation here. We've got nubs on either side of a seam line. I may as well not worry about those just yet. I'll sort those out later. Okay, that's cool. So I know there will be people out there who, you know, found those videos useful, because even though I was just parroting the magazine, but trust me, I'll show you much better. I'll take you much further than that, but without having to up the skill level at all, because it's still going to be the basic stuff of, you know, layers and shades and bases. It's not going to be anything technologically too complex. I'm not going to be doing a full, you know, golden demon level billions of layers of glazing, because I'll be perfectly honest, if I'm painting an entire army, I haven't got the patience to do that. You know, I just haven't got the... I might do that on 1 or 2 of the you know, the main figures. I haven't got the patience to paint a couple of 100 dudes with billions of layers and everything else. Let's have a look. Simon Reynolds says... What are we talking about? Hang on. An entire army of angry space marines, just think about it, says Nim. That'd be cool. Space marines will be some kind of variant of... They're all suggesting what George should have as his space marines. Some variant of Pink Smurf. Jamie Bowen says, "Got to go now, food is ready. Should be back in a stream later on if Chris is, if he is doing one." Okay, see you later, buddy. Thanks for coming in. Enjoy your noms. Really, George says, "Si, you should go with Imperial Fists as the true guardians of terror and thus the Emperor." Also, Fox brush painting an army of yellow would drive him insane. No, because you know what? Airbrush. I'm not that dumb. If I'm doing yellow, they're getting a light primer and a yellow base coat that I can work off. They're getting I'll decant litres of Avalanche Sunset. I don't care. Where are we? I like the Bernie Boys, says George. Yeah, he was thinking of salamanders, and then we had some other discussions about other colour schemes. So it's not set yet. It's not set yet. But you'll not have any dragonhide tabards and stuff. Make him sculpt them. You don't want me sculpt him. If Fox could remember the colours he used on the Xeon Boys, it would be that. I may have it written down. Let me consult my leg end. I thought there was no bank details and stuff written in here. Also, I hope I can read my own handwriting. Paint guides, Guitari, Scions. These are like written down ideas for paint guides. Vehicles. and that's all I did. Yeah, I think I painted them, and I didn't actually write down what colour. However, I can always come up with something very similar. Possibly. Possibly. We'll figure it out. Yeah, we were throwing some ideas around for the colour schemes. We were thinking about things like making them match the Space Marines that I did in the Xeon theme. So they're all like made to look like Zaku, so there'd be various shades of greens. There was the thing about Shanghai Dragons colour scheme, all the different things. We've got a long way to go yet before anybody's to decide anything. I had great enjoyment watching you fumble around with that viewing hatch, Chris, says Simon Reynolds about his Beyblade. Yeah, I was watching that. I was like, oh, that hatch. Is anyone getting the new magazine Mortal Realms, says Snowman. It's the Age of Sigmar version of this from Hachette. If you like your Age of Sigmar, which is the sort of fantasy version of 40k, if you like Age of Sigmar, it's the equivalent of this. It's 80 issues over 2 years, where you're getting a load of what they called Sigmarines, I don't know, the Stormcast Eternals army and a floaty skeleton dude's army kind of thing. I don't know that much about Age of Sigmar, but you know what it is. It's one of their things. How does this even begin to fit together? That goes there. They need to. Oh, I see. Needs to be all the way down there somewhere. Ah, I see. So this goes together like that. You'll see. Yeah, it's the Age of Sigmar version of Conquest, and it's supposed to be very good. If you like your Sigmar, it's why not? Oh, there we go. Perfect. Yes. Remember this thing with the seam line here? Yeah. What you can do is you just basically fudge it. You want to cover up that seam line. Mostly. I'll still need to clean some of it up, but that seam line, you can hide it underneath these bits. There. So the only seam line I've got, in fact, is none of it. There's a little tiny bit on that lip there. The seam line can be hidden under that bar, and that bar, fantastic. So what I'll do very, very quickly now is, so I don't have to worry about these nubs or that seam line there at all. I've only got that little bit there to worry about, so I'll get my file. It's had 10 or 15 minutes to settle a little bit. Get my file. File that flat. Now remember, we squished the glue out of the gap. There's a little bead of polystyrene and glue that's filling that gap. I'm just filing that little bead down to be at the same level as the rest of the plastic surface. Super simple. And there you go. The seam line is almost removed. Done. So I don't have to worry about that seam line at all. You can still see the glue beading out there. Not a problem, because I'm just going to put it there. Is it still going to be? No, it's still a bit visible. You know what? I'm not going to completely slum it. It's still a bit visible on this recessed area. So what we'll do, this has had about 10-15 minutes. You don't have to leave it overnight. But I'm basically going to take this now, and I'm just going to get my still seam line removal tool. I'm going to drag it along, and it's still a little bit squishy, but that's fine. Remember, we've got the bead of polystyrene that we can liquidize by the glue that's come out. I'm going to run it along this edge here, being mindful of the rivet. Now we've still got that big nub as well that's sitting in the middle, so I'm going to take my file very, very gently, curving the file like this so it follows the curve. Very, very gently go over that, just to flatten down that nub a little bit. I'm not really wanting to use my sanding stick, rough sanding stick, because that can do more damage than a file. Believe it or not, sometimes a file can be a very clean way of sanding a surface. Now a lot of this is going to be invisible, but I just want to get it not massively sticking up. I'm going to sand over the bit I scraped with the seam line removal tool, which is still showing a little bit of texture. So we'll just make sure that's in there. So again, I'm basically flattening down that bead of glue and polystyrene till it's the same level as the surface, and then I can just gently sand it to smooth it off. It's still visible, you can still see the line where it was, but that's just because it's a different colour. More than anything else, it's just a colour difference. As long as it's smooth and you can't feel it, that's all that matters. But do keep in mind, again, it is a Chaos vehicle, it's a Death Guard vehicle, it's not going to be pristine and perfect, it's going to be scruffy and rough around the edges. You can damp your finger and just run it over to get rid of any dust to make sure it is looking nice and smooth. Hold it up to the light, see if you can see a little trench. No, can't see it. So we'll put that in there. We'll just do a quick test, see if it's hidden. And there. You won't be able to see it on camera, but basically that seam line is now vanished. You could just see a little tiny bit of it, so I thought it's best just to sand it back. Now with these rods in the way, and it's now glued in and sanded in, it's absolutely fine. You're not going to see it. So I can glue these parts on. They're quite a rough fit there. They don't fit particularly brilliantly well. Just make sure there's nothing sticking up anywhere that's obstructing. No. Just a tight fit. Okay, so put it back there. Can go there. We'll rotate it round to the right position. Yes, if there's ever a way you can hide seam lines with other things, then use that. Shortcuts are never a problem as long as they look good, and it's not. As long as a shortcut isn't a shortcut in quality, it's never a problem. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold these together for a second. A bit more glue, I think, on this part here. And what I will do is I will get myself some lovely, lovely tapings. This is a very tight fit. So I'm going to get myself some tape. And I'm just going to tape it together. Just to give it some grip. Because I can't stand here squeezing it for 20 minutes. So I'll just take that. That should force it together. I can run a little bit of glue down the sides here to give it more structural strength and integrity. Rotate it around a little bit. There we go. So it's just not on the seam line. Don't forget, this is going to be painted up with corrosion and rust and rot and decay anyway. So again, you don't have to be super careful with these Death Guard and Chaos things. Well, Death Guard specifically, because they are supposed to suggest rot and decay. So they can go there. I shall put some tape around the top, because these need to fit pressed against the muzzle. There we go. That can go there, that can go there. Oops, tearing now, sir. You can use clamps or tape, whichever is easiest for you. Sometimes for something like this, I'll just stick some tape on. It just helps. Although I wouldn't normally use my expensive Tamiya tape, but there you go. Hey, it's too late now. Can't go back. What can you do? So we'll let that sit for a bit. Okay, quick look at the chat. TK is off. Time to feed the little one. Bye for now. Take care, TK. You've already gone, I know, but thanks for coming by. Say hello to the little squidgy. How are you not a doctor or barista with that handwriting, dude? Yeah, my handwriting is terrible. But that, you know why? Again, it's because I'm lazy. I can read that. Fatigues, Moss Green app, because I have to look at the app. So, Fatigues, Moss Green, the colour scheme from the app. Flesh, Medium Flesh app. Armour, Mechanicus Standard Grey, not boots. Noil Oil plus and a layer of Mechanicus Standard Grey. Admin Grey, Administratum Grey, and Dawnstone chips. Leather, Rhinox Hide, Null Oil plus a layer of Rhinox Hide, including boots. Gawthor Brown, Steel Legion Drab, XV88 maybe. Yes, I can read it. I can read it. I'm sure I did write down the colour scheme for those dudes somewhere in our book. You know. What's going on here? Oh, there's a little... I never noticed that. I can't remember who got me this book, but it's got a little wallet in the front. I never noticed that before. Did I write it down in this book? No. Clearly not. What have I got in this book? I have planet names for Elite Dangerous, a description of how chipping works, something to do with submarines, I think, gap filling, and settings for Elite Dangerous. There you go. Yeah. Hate to say it, but that writing is neater than mine, says Chris at Gross Models. Cool. George, get them done in colours of the Legion of the Damned. Returns to lurking mode, says Mordraka. That's for his Space Marines. Also, my spying sucks. Or typing sucks, he says. And he says siping. Shanghai Dragons using salamander rules. Night Haunt, says George. About you get the... I can never remember what the hell they're called. The Sigmarines, the Stormcast Eternals. I'm not an Age of Sigmar guy. And the Night Haunt. Dave says, I will get it, but apart from a few bits of scenery, I have it all already. Sai says, the Zaku Green with these heads could be very rad, but I can't see that link. Would I be able to play it in my local store, says George, about adding like Shapeways heads to Space Marines, and he says, I don't see a reason why not really. If your store allows third-party bits, I seem to recall you saying your manager has a Night Haunt army with third-party, at least I think it was you. Dave mentions tight fit and the Lion Sleeps Tonight, and now we all have an earworm. I do not. I got you that book because I'm awesome, says Paul. Yeah, that was it. I knew somebody got me that book. I didn't realise, despite the fact it's got this big pregnant lump in the front, I never realised it's got a little document folder. How cool is that little document? Cool. It's also not as overexposed in real life. That's that there. Can't do much more on this because I need to let it sit for a while. So what else can I attach to what else? Let's have a look. See, the thing is, I could say that The Lion Sleeps Tonight might be stuck in my head, but for the fact that I have a couple of tunes that I can wield when necessary. A couple of ultimate earworm destroying tunes. Let's make... Okay, for anybody in chat who knows about the Death Guard, do I want the Entropy Cannon or the Plague Spitter? For the side weapons, do I want the Entropy Cannon or the Plague Spitter? I have no idea. And I haven't got any cards with me in front of me to tell me which is worse. Do I want Entropy Cannon or Plague Spitter? Let's have a look. So after my God Hands broke, I looked into getting some new nippers. I came across the single-bladed nippers from Despie. D-S-P-I-E. No, D-S-P-I-A-E. Despie. How do you even say that? Flurry Models did a review on them. They work just as nice as God Hands. Spitter, says David. Butcher that model. How would you know, Dave? All you make is ultramarine, boring blue Smurf boys. Joking. Do you have any shared parts? I can make both, and then Entropy cannons are big boomers. Anti-armor-ish. Plague spitters are anti-infantry-ish. See, I could magnetize them, but I can't be bothered. That's not something I'm going to do. Yeah, I'll go for the Entropy Cannon. No other responses? Nobody? You know what? I'll roll a die. I'll roll a dice. I have here somewhere. Where is it? I have here my D6 that I accidentally brought home from my local Warhammer store on Warhammer Day. Because oops, I genuinely got home and was like, "What's that in my pocket?" It's a die. Okay, so I must take that back to Chris. It's one of his dices. This is my first ever game of any kind of Warhammer when I played Daka Rally. This is one of the dice that I used, and it brought it back in my pocket. So I'm keeping this as a memento of my first ever play of any type of Warhammer. So if it's between 1 and 3, we'll go for the Entropy Cannon. If it's between 4, 5 or 6, we'll go for the Plague Spitter. Are we ready? 1. So it's an Entropy Cannon. There you go. I'm having a big boomer. I've actually used that dice for something now. That die even. There we go. Lovely jubbly. So it's Entropy Cannon. So I want 44, 45, 49 and 48. So 44, 45. Okay, that's going to be on this sprue. Maybe. I could look at the numbers, that might help. 49 and 48. 14 and 40. Okay, we'll get these off first. Yeah, that was my first ever game of Warhammer. Was Daka Rally on the open day, Warhammer Open Day, and it was great fun. Primarily because my the Storm Wolf that I built. Do you remember I built my Space Wolves Storm Wolf? Is actually at my local Warhammer store in Altrincham. It's there. It was purchased. It was. I sold it, and the owner is quite happy for it to be in that store. It's not in the window, but he has it there. So if you want to go and see that Storm Wolf, walk in and say to Chris, "Can I see Fox's Storm Wolf, please? Thank you very much." But it's there. So when we were playing Daka Rally, he brought loads of vehicles out just from the back room, like part built, and some were paying. Some people bought their own, and he plopped out my Storm Wolf, and I'm like, you know what? I'm having that. That's my vehicle. I'm playing that. And so the idea was it's just a race around the map, and the idea was that it didn't really make any sense to anybody who'd never played, so we didn't really know what we're doing. But somehow I managed to make sure I spent all my points on weapons, whereas everybody else spent money on like more powerful engines or whatever. One guy spent all his points available on a paint job that made him more dangerous, apparently, or he could avoid being hit by artillery because he had a paint job, rolled for paint job. But I went for a load of weapons, so when everybody else had the standard weapons for the vehicles, I added extra things that gave me twice as many shots and stuff. So I was just creaming everybody, but I didn't win. Because it was there was a Rhino and an APC and something else, and a Lehman Russ, and then my flyer. And it was just bizarre. It was quite good fun because the laws of physics were completely thrown out the window. Who knew that you could be shot in the back? The vehicle could be shot in the backside and then move and be blasted towards the thing that shot it. That's interesting use of physics, I think. Let's have a look. Oh God, I've got an itchy nose. Grandfather Nurgle will do best out of 3 on a dice roll, says Butch that model. Nah. I've not seen one of those document things, tie things since school. Always used to nick them from the binders because he means these things, treasury tags. These are. I used to work in the civil service many years ago. My first ever job was working for the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Agency for 5 years, the DVLA, booking driving tests. Treasury tags were a big thing in the civil service in the 90s. So I've got a box full of treasury tags. Yeah. 1980s, 1990s classic British office technology. There you go. So that's one. Here's the other one. Do. I have a set of D&D dice I keep nearby. I've got all those. I've got 3 sets of beautiful. In fact, 4 sets now. I've got the 4 sets of dice that came with Warhammer Conquest. The sort of clear red, blue, green, and yellow ones that look like they're made out of jelly, and they are delightful. And when it comes to playing a game, I will make sure to use them because they're beautiful. But if I ever get my own dice and play properly, I will get semi-transparent dice because they look fantastic. I won't get them out now because they're all packed away, but I look at them and think, oh, these dice. I've never thought of dice as being beautiful before, but they are. It's like a block of uncooked jelly, or jello, as our colonial cousins would say. Now, I'm not going too much on getting rid of these nubs on this guns because they are cylinders, so we're going to sort them out when they're glued together. So I'm not going to go too crazy with them. So it's, what am I doing now? I don't know which is which now. Bugger. I've got 2 halves, I don't know which is which. So that's there. That's one. And this is that one. I think I kept them separate correctly. Oh, got a big nub there. Big nubbage. Put that there, if I can get my fingers to work. So there we go. There's the 2 cannons. So I'm going to get a little bit of glue, and just like we did on the big mortar, going to run the glue down the middle, down the gap. A little bit, oops, probably a bit too much there, but we'll put a lot of that in there. Make sure we get glue down the front of the muzzle and down this bit here. And then just very carefully, give them a second, and then very carefully squish them together. Squish. Not too much because it's a tiny, tiny gap, and I don't want a big, like, foot high bleb of melted plastic coming out, because there are some fine details on here. So just enough to give me a few beads, and I'll see if I can zoom in for you. Give you a few beads of glue. It's a it's a webcam, you're not going to see all the detail, but there's a bead of glue right down the middle there now, just little tiny beads sticking out. And like I say, it's very similar to the idea of sprue goo, in that it melts the polystyrene a little tiny bit, you squeeze it out, the glue evaporates away, you squeeze it together so the melted plastic bubbles out. You then leave it for a little bit, the glue evaporates away, and you're just left with the polystyrene, which is now filling its own hole. And that's why I can't remember. I'm trying to think now the last time I actually used any kind of fillers, other than sprue goo, which, you know, technically is a filler. But other than sprue goo for slightly bigger gaps than these, I can't remember the actual last time I even used any milliput or anything like that. I think I may have used some on my big mega size RX-78-2, but that was more repairs than filling, because that's because the knee joint shattered because it got thinners in it. Thanks, Bandai. So aside from that, I can't remember the last time I actually used any thinners. Any fillers. Vamp is in. Good evening, children, she says. Good morning, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good day. Good day to you, sir. Evening, Vamp. So there they've got little bits of glue in there. We'll leave them for a minute. Was that the instance where someone fired a missile, went for miles, and you phoned Jidway in Manchester? No, it says Davidson. No, there is a apocryphal story that apparently was from my local store, where they had some vehicle that had a weapon like a mortar with an infinite range on it, and so they're playing a game in the local store. This is what the manager told me. So they're playing a game, and some guy fired this weapon, but for laugh, what they did was they actually phoned the local store in Manchester, which is about 10 miles away, and said, "We've just fired this thing with like a Vulcan cannon or whatever it was. It's going to hit one of your tables." So the manager at that store then picked one table and said, "You've got an incoming round from a such and such cannon, roll for it." And basically what happened was people playing a game in the Altrincham store fired a weapon that then landed in the middle of a game in the Manchester store and killed half an army. And it's like, awesome. And apparently it was well known to do that. Sometimes you'd fire, I think it was like if you rolled it for a particular thing and it was just a high number, it would just be off the table. So, you know, you'd fire and the people on the next table would take a hit. But I think that weapon got nerfed in the end. Mordraka says, one above the dozer blade and one next to the monitor support, lurking again. I've got the Doohickey McBlobulon, whatever you said that one was, the Dothraki cannon or whatever it is. I've got that on there. I know it's not the Dothraki cannon. Raging Bassist is back, just got home from work. Oh, what a day. Sit down, dude. Get your feet up. Have a beverage. I have too many polyhedral dice, says Raging Bassist. That's a lie. You can never have too many. I have maybe 12 sets in my dice bag. Them tags in the forces, we had to put them in white stick-on circles where the hole is punched to protect the paper wore on the requisition forms for stores. They were known as polar bear. And yeah, I won't read that out, but yes. I have actually, if I got the binder out, you would see I've actually got, I don't think I've got it on here because I've not taken these magazines apart yet. I've not separated these magazines out, but on the actual proper binders where I've separated out the different sections, I've got the little paper reinforcing things. So yes, I have got those as well. Our front bedroom is used as a storeroom, and it's a treasure trove of 1980s office supplies. Trust me, 1980s, 1990s office supplies. Paul at Glued to the Sprue says he's changed. For some reason, he changed from Team Inept. Last time I used a milliput was to fill a hole in the wall so I could put up a curtain rail. Yes. James Lorimore has a random bag of runes. That's it, doctor, about that. We're 42 and 43. These are just individual pieces, but we can clean them up. We can get them cleaned up for now. James Nelthorpe is in. He says, sorry I'm late. Belly, gammon, piccalilli and crusty bread. Bench staring in horror at the 100 scale HMS Victory I'd got just before Christmas. Oh. Yeah. Somehow, Chris now doesn't feel quite as bad about having to paint orange digital camo on his Baneblade. Yeah. I think Chris was saying earlier that he's got a coat of primer on his Baneblade now. He's just going through that sort of metaphysical crisis where he's realised he's actually got to paint it orange digital camo. Oops. Yes. Doodle-doo-doodle-doo-doo-doo. Ooh, big nub. Big nub! Vamp says, Foxy! Hello, Vamp. Hello. Where are we? Editing, am I right? Says James Lorimore. I don't know why he says that, but yes. I was indicating where on the sprue they were... Oh, right, sorry, yes. Editing, am I right? Fun if you understand the software. Editing's actually, well, simple editing, like what I do. You know, cutting and trimming, adding interstitials, bit of a little fade here and there, very occasional special effect of some sort. That kind of editing, it's not that bad. It's actually not fun. It's kind of boring, but it's not bad if you've got good software. But I'm by no means a hardcore editor. I've figured out some simple little things, like sometimes you have to do a bit of lateral thinking, like you might have, for example, the software I use, which is Movavi. There are some basic animation tools. So, for example, when you see, like on Sidewinder Saturdays, the title card where the Sidewinder's there and it's doing that and just sitting and hovering on the screen like this, and it's down here somewhere, it's like kind of going like that. That's some real basic animation that's not very good. And there's some other little bits there where you might get some animation in text and stuff. But editing videos, it's not that bad. You're just trimming stuff, you're making sure it looks and sounds okay, adding video and audio and stuff. I wouldn't say it was fun. It's frankly tedious. Sometimes. It can take longer to edit a video together than it can to actually film the damn thing. Which is a pain. Especially when it's like for example, like a mystery package video. Like I'll post up like a half-hour mystery package times video, yeah? And you'll watch that half hour. And it's pretty much filmed live with very little stopping and starting. So from me saying, hey everyone, it's Fox from Model Making Guru here, welcome to the Mystery Package Times, to me then saying thanks for watching, goodbye, good night, God bless, and may your God go with you, that's just one take, more often than not, unless I've had to stop for some reason in the middle. It's usually one take, so it might be half an hour of filming, but it could be 4 hours of editing. It's like, ugh, because it's not just, you know, topping and tailing. And what that means is, you know, trimming down a piece of video, so you've got the quiet bit at the start and then I start talking, and the quiet bit at the end when I finish talking. You top and tail, you take those bits out and you get the bit just that you're going to watch. It's not just that, because don't forget, when you edit, an editor worth their salt, here's a handy tip for you. If you're making YouTube videos, for the love of God, spend time going through and removing all the ums and ahs and coughs and sniffles and yeah, and anything dead time when you say, no, let's do this, and you sit there for 5 minutes doing something and say nothing. Just edit that out. I mean, I'm guilty of it myself. Sometimes I'll miss things, but I'm quite fussy in that I will go through, because when I edit a video, when you watch a video I've made, a half-hour video, I probably had to watch that like 4 times in the process of editing it. So I'm thoroughly bored of that video by the time you guys see it. And But yeah, it's going through, editing out all the ums and ahs and the pregnant pauses. And don't forget, of course, there probably are times when, even on a one-take video like a mystery package times, I've had to say something 5 times because I've said something and fluffed what I want to say, and then I'll say again. Yeah, I might say something and because I'm not reading a script, but I might say something and make a pig's ear of it, or I might be talking away to camera and be like, you know what, that's just bollocks. I'm talking rubbish. Let's just re-record that bit because I need to use less words, and I'll re-record it as I'm going live. So there's lots of things to be trimmed out, and ums and ahs and coughs and splutters. But if you're putting video on YouTube, if you're doing a piece to camera, please edit out your coughs, your splutters, your clearing your throats, your hacking. You know, if you've got the last thing anybody wants to watch is somebody coughing a lung up. You know, it's not. I mean, really coughing one up. I've watched videos where people are talking, and I don't mean like live stream. Like live streams like this, you can't avoid it. There's nothing you can do. It's live. That's the whole point. But I mean pre-recorded videos. You know, I'm building this model. I'm painting this thing, whatever it might be. And they've just left in. They'll be talking. I've seen one. I'm not going to name any names, but there is one where somebody's doing something. Excuse me. I would edit that out normally. They're doing something on camera and saying, right, now we're going to paint this. Now we're going to do this. And then they just stop and they cough up a lung like 40 a day smoker. And then they carry on, and I'm like, dude, that was gross. Oh, can you just not edit? And they just, can you not edit that out, please? And the thing is, they've actually got some editing. I'm not going to mention names, but they've got some editing in the video because they cut and fade between different shots, but really basic stuff. But they just left, and I'm like, oh, that was just gross. And it's several times in the same video, and I'm like, I'm not watching this. I'm not watching your stuff ever again because that's just disgusting. And if you can't be bothered to edit that out, then I can't be bothered to watch your content. Oh, Chris Model says, sorry about that. It wasn't you, dude. So yeah, if you're making YouTube content, you know, if it's a live stream like this and there's nothing you can do, these just go live and they're on and that's it, end of. You do your best to get the sound and video edited balanced nicely. You press go and you pray to all the gods of live streaming that it doesn't fall over. Like, you know, but you're going to have to clear your throat occasionally and stuff like that. I will if I'm going to do a big fat cough, I'll turn the microphone off briefly, but it's not always possible. But yeah, a pre-rendered video, oh, dude, it was horrible. It was really horrible. So if you're just edit all that stuff out. Edit out your coughs and sniffles and little weird things. And don't be afraid if you're doing a piece to camera, you're pre-recording it. If you fluff a line, I don't mean a line like a script, but if you say something and you fluff it, just stop and say it again. Re-record it several times. Like, for example, I might be working on something and I might say, right, I'm going to sand this bit now, and then what we're going to do, and I might just flumble on the words. I'll be like, oh, hang on, wait, let's say that again. And I'll give it a second pause and I'll go, so I'm just going to do this bit now, and then I'll go off and I'll finish it later. And I'll just do several takes, even if it's in the same take, because you can edit it. You can all fix it in the editing. Don't be too worried about getting everything right first time, and if you don't get it right, never mind, it's too late, you can't do anything about it. Don't be too fussed about getting it right first time. If you fluff some words, just pause, make a little note out loud when you're editing that says, ignore that last bit, redo it from here. Just talk to yourself in the future and edit. Been playing around audio editing for Twitter vids, says Quano Man. Cool. Bye all, back off to bed. Have some fun all, says Snowman. Thanks for coming, Snowman. Stephen Werner says, belly, pulled pork burger, bench 30 poxwalkers. 30 poxwalkers. Yeah, and he's got his mouth zipped. Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm going to have 40 to paint. James says, the editing software I have is intuitive, but I just want to trim it for now, and it's nowhere near as simple as advertised. Yeah, some of it is straightforward. You do get things like the stuff you get on your iPad or your iPhone to edit. They're just garbage. Don't even try. trying to do it on a little pokey, even on an iPad screen, forget it. You need to do it on your computer or a laptop. You need proper timeline control so you can see timeline. You don't need the spankiest, most expensive editing software in the world, but you need to be able to see the timeline properly and to, you know, jog and shuttle and things like that. I've tried editing stuff on an iPad. Oh, it's just garbage. Forget it. The built-in stuff, don't use it, and don't ever think about using the stuff on YouTube itself, because that is absolute garbage. It's slow, it's clunky, and it's absolute nonsense. The trick is, if you want somebody to watch if you want somebody to spend time, take time out of their day to sit down and watch your content. Because let's be honest, there's a bajillion people on YouTube. There's 500 hours of content uploaded every minute on YouTube. You're fighting all of that to get a bit of the pie. If you don't tell the viewer that you can be bothered to make the effort, they're not going to be bothered to watch your stuff. So you always have to do the best you can to make the best possible quality. Now, it doesn't mean that everybody's going to make a BBC documentary quality piece of film. Of course they're not. You know, my stuff is kind of simple. It's iPhone filmed. It's filmed on an iPhone with a lavalier mic, and it's the best I've got. Yeah, it's the best I can afford. There's always limits, but there's plenty of free stuff out there. If you're limited budgets, plenty of free tools and stuff you can use out there that will give you really, really good quality. But YouTube audiences are it's not me being snobbish about the quality of content. Let me just make this clear. It's not me being snobbish and saying you must do proper editing, you must do this. I don't care. I don't care what other people do in the YouTube videos, personally. But I know what YouTube audiences are like. If you're wanting to attract the audience, you have to understand that your content on YouTube is no more important than anybody else's content, and YouTube viewers are like deer in the headlights. Well, no, not like deer in the headlights. They're like deer in a forest. You walk along and you'll see a deer there, and it's lovely, beautiful to look at. But the moment you make any kind of noise, it runs off dead skittishly. They're skittish. Any excuse, they'll just leg it and go and watch something else. So you need to make sure, even if you're on a limited budget and you've not got much money, you know, for example, you don't have to do a big quality BBC production. Just do the best you can. So, you know, don't cut corners is the best advice. Whatever you are using to edit, don't cut corners. Because if you go in with the mindset of, I want to do this because it's easier, that will translate into the content you make on the channel, and therefore people will stop watching it. Now, this is ironic for me, given that the whole point of my channel is to show how you can be a lazy model maker and still get good results, because that's the whole point. I show you how to do things maybe the easiest way, because I am a lazy model maker. But that's what I'm trying to say. It's kind of I'm not saying it very well, but that's what I'm trying to say is don't cut corners when it comes to creating your video content. I see so many videos that are just absolute garbage because they're horrible to look at, the audio is terrible, or they're just filmed in portrait and they need to be burned in hell, or they're just, you know, the person presenting it is just talking gibberish and you can't understand a word they say, and they just haven't bothered to do even the most basic of anything. They've just filmed something and uploaded it, maybe done a little tiny bit of cutting and editing, that's it. And it's like, you can't do that. Not for this kind of video or anything like that. Not for, if you're just doing a stupid vlog that just irrelevant nonsense because you're a shallow and vapid human being with no real purpose or worth to anybody, then yeah, that's fine and nobody cares. But if you're doing anything like a tutorial or anything like this where you're trying to show something, God, just make the effort. Make the effort. So yeah, I'm not saying that anybody that I know or anybody of you in chat does this. By the way, and don't get me wrong, I'm not pointing the finger at anybody. I'm saying it as a cautionary tale. I know people that do this, and I know content creators that just cut every possible corner they can because they can't be bothered. And it's like, well, if you can't be bothered making it fun for me to watch, I can't be bothered watching it. Especially if you're asking people for financial support as part of your content creation, like I do. You want to reuse Scotch tape, says David Sanderson. Re-record, not fade away. Re-record, not fade away. Those of us of a certain age will know exactly what... We'll have that voice in our head now. I'm going to tell you how it's going to be. Re-record, not fade away. You can hear that. Some of you now will hear that guy's voice in your head. Old guy, slightly throaty voice. Yeah, you can hear it. You got it. I have a fart in my first video. I need to go back and actually edit it. The video, I mean. Yes. It depends what your content is, though. If you're doing this kind of video, I'd edit that out. Unless, you know, it becomes something that you can discuss in the video, in which case, you know, it might be something amusing. You know, I've done videos where I've burped and left it in because I've actually pointed it out in the video. I've said, oh, I do apologise, that was very rude. I mean, I've made it into something funny. So you don't have to, you know, we're not all going to be nuns. There will be times when you'll do something and you'll actually discuss it in the video itself. But, yeah. It does depend a lot on the content, you know. But my content is I'm trying to teach you how to do something. And they're not these live streams, but my proper videos. I'm trying to demonstrate how to do something for people that want to learn how to do it. And the minimum distraction, the minimum barriers I can put between me doing it and them learning how to do it, the better. So, you know, if I'm doing a video, I probably won't have lots of burps and farts and stuff because it's not relevant to... I might get a quick comedy moment out of it once, but... If I were doing videos, there will be days when editing out the burps and farts will be leaving me no video. Health issues, says Phil Lewis. Again, it depends on the content and what you make of it. I've lost my... There it is. I'm not saying that, you know, what's inappropriate in one video will be appropriate in another. It's impossible to say. It might be someone's signature. There's lots of burpage and fartage. But yes, depends what you're wanting to do. I need better audio quality, says James Lorimore. If you go to my Amazon store, which is linked in the description below this video and all my videos. If you go to my Amazon store, I have a US store and a UK store. If you go to the link in the description below this video, my Amazon store, I have a section called something like you want to YouTube, stuff for YouTube and that. And it's all things like microphones, microphone booms, that kind of... It's all equipment that you might find useful if you're doing video production. And now it's not got a lot of stuff in there. For example, I don't have any expensive cameras. I have a couple of links for like iPhone 5S's because that's what I use because they're cheap. But I have links for like this webcam, the C920 and things like that. So I've got links for lavalier microphones that I use and things like that, and the Yeti that's over there that I'm using right now. So yeah, I mean, like I said though, it doesn't... YouTube viewers are kind of forgiving if you're not... They know that, for example, a small channel might not be rich and affluent and therefore may not have the best equipment. They're quite tolerant when it comes to, you know, poor equipment, because they understand that some channels are little tiny baby channels and they don't have a big fortune to spend on, you know, cameras and lighting and stuff. But by the same token, there comes a point at which they realise, you know, this channel's got some subscribers now, it needs to maybe make a bit more effort. Or there comes a point at which you have to ask the question, that is the quality issue stopping people watching the video? So it might well be that, you know, person A can afford X, Y, and Z pieces of equipment, which means they get all right quality videos, but not the best. But the audio, for example, if you've got a crappy microphone, the audio might be terrible. But people might forgive that because they're more interested in the content, not the quality of the audio. However, it may well be that people watching are like, dude, I like your content, but your microphone is bloody awful. I can't listen to you talk. Who's that? Who's that one that does the Gumpler videos? I can't remember. She does like reviews. She's got like a billion trillion Gumpler, and she just basically gets them out and quickly reviews them. But she uses some really crappy headphone mic from like 1995, and it's just awful. It makes her sound like she's got a permanent blocked nose, and she's kind of nasally sounding, and it's just because she's got a crappy headphone mic from like 20 years ago. Prime 92, that's the one, I think. And it's like, I can't watch her videos because it's just horrible. I mean, she talks fast anyway, but that wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't for a really crap microphone. And she's been doing it for 10 years. She makes, go and look at her Social Blade stats. She makes a little bit of income off the channel. She can afford a decent microphone. No. Yeah, Edward Lennon says Prime 92. And a lot of people are put off by that. A lot of people aren't, but it bugs me. Now, you know, just starting out on a channel, people expect that you don't have all the expensive equipment. That's fine, but you can't sit on that for a long time. I mean, I know I've not got professional. I've got a basic C920 webcam. My camera for filming is an iPhone 5S. I can't afford a big spanky several hundred quid camera. Not that I probably want to use one anyway. My iPhone 5S is fine for most of the stuff I do. I would like a a proper decent camera, but then I've got issues with being able to change focus quickly. Also, I'm not a cameraman. I don't know about these things. I think she uses a voice changer, says Paul Di Tommaso about Prime 92. Yeah, I don't know if she does or doesn't, because it's always been the way, but everybody always bitches about it and say, dude, can you just not have this stupid... Because it's just this horrible nasally... It was horrible. And it makes me not want to watch your content. But that's the kind of thing you've got to weigh up sometimes. Even if you can't afford top-notch equipment, sometimes if you want to make a go of something like a YouTube channel, you get to that point where you think, look, I'm not rich, I can't afford super expensive microphones and stuff, but the quality I'm putting up is terrible, and people are telling me it's terrible, and they're not watching, they're being put off, and it becomes a natural stopping point. At some point you're going to have to invest some money in some kind of better equipment. Because if you don't, you're screwed. I used to start, when I started my videos, I was literally using the microphone on the iPhone, which was fine, but every time I moved my head, it went quiet and loud. And after a while, I'm like, I have to spend some money on a decent microphone because this is ridiculous. So I got myself my little lavalier mic for pre-recording, and I got myself the Yeti for the live streaming, because I can't remember even what I was using for live streaming, to be honest. It was terrible. James says, I've seen Prime 92 stuff, and I've watched Mecha Gaikotsu or something like that, and he's pretty good. He's the Irish guy that lived in Japan? Or he's gone back to somewhere? I think he went back to America. Raging Bases. Would you recommend a circle light magnifier? Nah. Not really. I find them... If you've got, it means like when you get a light and it's got the lights a circle, the light bulb is a circle, and you've got the glass bit in the middle. You're basically working here, and you've got a thing here in front of you, and then you've got your head further away. Just get yourself a visor. It's easy. You can take it on and off whenever you need to. Some of them have lights, but you don't need that. This is more convenient because if you've got the magnifier, you've got a thing between you and what you're working on. Whereas with one of these things, you can get close up to it. You can see me come down here and work like this in real. This is why sometimes I can't film little miniature figures, because I have to get really close. So I wouldn't bother. Plus, keep in mind as well, in the middle of summer, if you get a circle light magnifier, they tend to be tubes, not LEDs, and they get really hot. So in the middle of hot summer, when you're sat there like this and you've got a massive glowy bulb in front of your face, it's not ideal. Mecha Gaikotsu was in Japan, but now I've moved back to Ireland, says Paul. Yeah, I remember last time I saw one of his videos. I'm not subscribed to him, I don't think, but he was on the way back to Ireland. He also started doing some Warhammer stuff, which was good. Except he built some Imperial Knights and left all the nubs on. I'm like, oh! So yeah, when it comes to like buying quality and editing and stuff like that, it's one of those things. The entire reason for doing YouTube content is you want people to see your content. For whatever reason. There's no point half-arsing it. Work with whatever you can afford and do the best you can, but keep it in the back of your mind that at some point the audience can be quite forgiving, but at some point they're going to expect you to up the game a little bit. You can't coast on half-assing it. And not because any snobbishness, again, it's purely because you're competing with a bajillion other people putting out the same content. It's hard enough to come up with unique and original content. It's almost impossible to come up with anything that hasn't been done by somebody else. So there's no point trying in a lot of cases, especially stuff like, you know, stuff I do. Or I think, James, I know you're going to do like video game stuff. You're competing with a bajillion other people doing exactly the same thing with exactly the same game. So you need to not necessarily make something stand out as unique, because you're going to have a devil of a time trying to find a unique selling point for your content. But you want somebody to not just look at it and go, oh look, it's another channel where they play Fortnite. You need them to stick around. So you've got to, if the only way you can do that right now is quality, you need to focus on the quality. You know, there's a lot of channels out there that do X, Y, or Z, but even this kind of model making stuff. But if you look at most of them are garbage. I say I'm not perfect. I'm no master at this. I'm no perfectionist. But if my stuff looks rough around the edges, dear God, you should see some of the stuff I see. Holy cow. Take pride in your work. That's the trick. Glued to this brew says, left all the knobs on. That's Norm's USP. Yeah, I've actually stopped watching tested videos now. Because, well, I've unsubscribed because the majority of the videos in my feed were just Norm making things. And every time I watched Norm doing a let's build something video, it triggered me completely. Didn't do it first, because at first, when it was him and Will and then Franco Polito were teaching him how to paint, like, you know, resin miniatures and stuff, busts, they were learning. But he's had a few years now and he's still rubbish, and it just frustrates me because he doesn't seem to learn anything. So I've had to stop. It was never the same since Will left anyway. Tested. I'm a grumpy old man, I don't like change. Nim is off. Well, I'm off to bed. I have to go into work a little early. Stupid new products that I have to learn to make when it's not even my department. Never mind. It'll be worth it in the end, probably. Paul Di Tommaso says, I like Robert 184, 2 R's, 2 B's. Too bad he doesn't do videos anymore. Yeah, I love this stuff. I liked his... when I was first getting into Gunpla, there was a lot of his stuff and Zach Aurelius and that lot that, you know, got me learning what I wanted and what I was doing, and because I didn't know anything about Gunpla. Now you've got Zach, of course, is still going strong. Moving back to... Zach's moving back to the US, isn't he? Because he's working for USA Gundam Store now. I think, has I got that right? I remembered that. Been doing work for them. So he's either has moved or will be moving back to. Unfortunately, it sometimes sounds like I'm out of the loop on a lot of this stuff, but the problem is I don't have a lot of time to watch other people's content. It sounds really horrible. It's not because I don't care. I don't have time. I'm too busy making my own. So I don't have a lot of people on my subscribe channels. I have to weed my subscriptions quite often because I get, like, you know, I log into YouTube and I've got like 50 videos. I can't watch 50 videos. I have to trim it down to the stuff I absolutely need to know about. So it's not really bad, that, but it's just practicality. I haven't got time to watch everything. But yeah, anyways, yeah, Robert 184, 2 R's, 2 B's, 1 T. I loved the way he presented it. But I think he went to work for Hobby Link Japan and did some blog writing stuff for them. And I would have followed that, but unfortunately Hobby Link Japan's actual forum and website thing is absolute, well, it was last time I checked, it was absolute garbage. If you've ever tried posting on their HLJ's forums, on their website bit, oh god, it was terrible. It was a WordPress-based blog, and it was absolute dire. Absolute garbage. So I didn't really hang out on that too much. Right, these are quite tedious little things to trim the seam line off, these guns, because the seam lines are everywhere. I can still see it, but I don't think it's going to be visible once it's primed. Right, I'm off to sort food. Have fun all, says Chris at Gross Models. Thanks for coming along, Chris. Enjoy your foods. Do let me know later on what the foods are. I need to know. And I shall see you later on in your stream. Right. I think that's as best as I can do with the seam line on there. I think the seam line holding up to the light. You can't see it here, but I'm holding it to the light, and I think that's fairly much covered up. Got this one to do now. I am on tonight. Feel free to join me. Yes, Chris will be doing his at Warhammer Sundays stream at 8 PM. Excuse me. Clear my throat. One sec. There you go. That's how you don't clear your throat on the telly. Yes, he'll be doing his Warhammer stream live at 8 PM on his channel, Gross Models, this evening, where he's working on. I think he's working on the. He had a poll. I think it was the Aeronautica Imperialis planes he was going to build that got voted for, which I think was a fix because it should have been the big Orc truck, but I don't know why anyone would vote for little tiny planes when it's Orc truck, when the Orc truck's in there in the mix. I think it was a fix. I think there's a bit of fibbage going on. But yeah, go and watch Chris at 8 PM tonight. Right, what we're talking about, I've got no idea. I was ranting about stuff, but I need to not rant anymore. Always do your best with YouTube. Is what I was trying to say. Got to go, bye, says Dave Sanderson. Thanks for coming in, David. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I need to try and get rid of that seam line down the little recess there. Little recessed vents on the barrel are a pain to get to. But we will get there. We were robbed, we should have been the truck, says bassist. Yeah, who votes for a little farty plane? I don't know. I think there's some stiffing going on there. I don't believe that for a minute. Fox, Paul, are we heckling Chris now or giving him a New Year break? No, no, we'll give him a break. I never heckle Chris. Do I? I hope not. I like Chris. Chris is awesome. Where's me? Do you know, it's this thing where you have like 5 tools in front of you. And I'm like, right, where's my file? And my brain's like, one of these is a file, but I'm suddenly incapable of deciding which one it is. I will do that all the time. Suddenly find that I can't visually recognise one of my tools. Yeah, those circle lights, they're fine for artists, but they're no use for model makers. They just get in the way. Plus, every time you move, the difficulty is with the circle light magnifier. If it's not attached to your head, every time you move your head a little bit, that movement is exaggerated. So when you're trying to paint something, what you actually see, you're doing this, and if your head moves a little bit, what you actually see is this. And you're trying to paint it so if you just get something that's actually stuck on your head, like my visor, you just plant it on your head, and therefore you're completely in control. It is a pain when you have to then look up and look at somebody in the room or in my iPad and stuff, but you get used to it. You get used to it. Plus, if you get one of the big ones with like the proper wraparound thing, you can paint a shark mouth on it and shark eyes. If you get the one that's just glasses, then that's just boring. You want to get shark mouth painted on it. Definitely heckle him, says Gemma. Paul Di Tommaso says lol. Chris at Gross Model says, luckily my wife was still watching and has reported back to me that I was being picked on. I know all. Oh dear, Chris has the all-seeing eye. Well, I hope she reported about that. I was like, no, we're not going to heckle Chris. I had no involvement in this discussion. I deny all responsibility of such matters. Right, that's that one done. So, yeah, when you fill in little seams with glue, golden rule, if you're filling a little seam with sprue goo, which is lashings and lashings of delicious Tamir extra thin with polystyrene dissolved in it, like plastic card, then I would say, if it's a big enough gap, then yes, leave that for 24 hours to cure fully. So then it'll just be polystyrene left. If you're just squishing, you're putting some glue in and squishing two pieces together, you only need to leave it 5 or 10 minutes. You should be all right. It'll still be a little bit squidgy, but if you're careful and you just stick to using a metal, don't use a sandpaper. When you've got the little beads of glue, the first thing you want to work on is with one of these or a metal file. For some reason, it tends to ruck up the gluey, sticky stuff less. So if it's still a little bit icky sticky, it's just going to flatten it down. If you use sandpaper or something stick straight off, it'll go and make a mess. So you only have to leave it 5 or 10 minutes. Sprue goo, leave it 24 hours. Just fill in a gap with a squishy, give it 5 or 10 minutes. You can get rid of seam lines and stuff quite quickly that way. It's quite fascinating. It's quite efficient. Like I say, I can't remember the last time that I actually used filler. Nope, she said you were the ringleader. It wasn't me that posted anything up. I didn't do nothing. I ain't done nothing out nor nothing neither. Honestly. Do you know what? It's a hard knock life, isn't it? I don't know. Where are we? A terrorist is in. Hello, Fox and friends. I hope you all had a smashing Christmas and New Year's. Just checking in while at work. Welcome, a terrorist. Hello, my friend. I need some tissue because the moustache of all absorbents is absorbing all the tea in the world. Yeah. Welcome, my friend. You missed quite a lot, but we've still got half an hour to go, 45 minutes to go. What have we done so far? Just to catch you up, I've done nothing on that. That's where I stuck these two side pieces on. I built that, and we've got some bits. That's as much as I've done today. I've done quite a bit today. This is quite good for me, actually. Right, so let's have a look. Chris then says, humph. I like when Chris does his humph. Okay, so these guns need to go on these bits. Yeah, see, there's lovely. There's lovely. So that goes on like that. Okay, that's fairly straightforward. I can do that now. I can do it now already, even. Goes that. Spladooge. You watch these be chiral now. I mean, one on one and one on the. I've got them on the wrong side or something. Do you know? I'll have the most back to front Death Guard army on any table. Stick that on that. Hefty gun, that. Hefty big fat shooter boy. Now, handy tip, and again, you'll have seen this before. If you watch my stuff regularly, you'll see how, you won't see on camera, but on these weapons, there are little recessed parts in the barrel. These little recess here, like little vents. I'll zoom in again for you. Zooming. These little recesses here in the barrel. I've tried to clean out the seam line as best I can, but because I've had to use the knife to kind of scrape it out, they're a bit scribbly, they're a bit scrapey with little powdery bits. So, good way to get rid of that. Get a very little amount of glue on your brush, the extra thin, and just brush it over that. Anything where you've drilled, got some in the little recesses there as well. Anything where you've drilled or you've used a knife blade to clean something up, and you get little sort of powdery scuff marks left over, you can just use your extra thin to clean that up. It's not the kind of problem you get when you're using, say, a seam line removal tool, because these are firm and rigid and they just clean it nicely. Knife blades tend to skitter and jump, and they leave little tiny little fluffy bits of plastic. I'll zoom out again. They leave little fluffy bits of plastic behind, little fuzzy things that you can see. And when you drill a barrel out and you get little fuzzy edges, just get your little bit of glue on the brush and just go around the edge, and it'll melt those little fluffy sticky up hairs and flatten them down, they'll go away. It's a good way to clean up little rough edges. Gemma says, Foxy's being a git. I laughed and told him you waited till he left to start saying about his poll being a fix. Carolina Roberto is in. Hey Carolina, welcome back. Gemma says, butcher that model and Team Inept, heckle away later. I need a laugh. Oh, that tea's gone cold. Sorry, I was on the phone to the boss from work, asked me how today was. I had to call him. I was worried about the complaint we had, but I think they were trying to get a free meal, to be honest. Yeah. You'll be scraped trying to get a free meal. Wouldn't worry about it. Now, this thing here is the big fat Kanonen. I don't know how much of this is going to be visible. Possibly quite a lot. So, what we will do is we will assume that all of this is visible. Remember, we got away with this. Oh, hello. Oh, I've left a nub in there. I've just noticed it now. Oh, fudge. Fudge-tastic. There's a nub inside there that I hadn't spotted. Oh, you little bugger. There we go. Luckily, I got rid of it. It'll be hidden away. There's always one nub left at the end. So that's all set now, and it's all locked in place. Everything's glued nicely. So you probably won't see most of this seam line down here, but I'm gonna trim it anyway and smooth it off anyway, just a little bit. I'm using the seam line removal tool because it's a nice big flat tool. It's my nice big flat tool. And it's great for cleaning off flat surfaces without leaving a load of scrapey knife marks. Knife blades, like I said, they jitter and skip. And that's where you get little scrapey scratch marks. Things like this, it's a solid steel blade. You just drag it along. It's like a plane. It will just simply flatten everything down nicely. So if I keep going like this, enough. Get it over the recess. I don't think you'll see this edge. I think this edge probably locks in somewhere like that. But we'll figure that out in a minute. But it is a good way, quick way to get a flat surface. Because it's a flat steel blade, you can use it as a plane to level a flat surface for a start. So you can just go, and it means you don't get an angle. But it's also a good way to not have lots of scrape marks. So if I look at that now, it's pretty much smooth. I can give it a quick blast with the fine sander. Done, and there'll be no scrape marks and no scratch marks in that surface. I've still got a little bit of a gap there, but I think that's covered up. Let me look at that gun more in depth. In depth. No, it doesn't get covered up at all. Okay, so we've got a little bit. We need to fill that in that case, or rather get rid of it altogether. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to carry on. Well, I could carry on like this, but it's going slowly. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get tactical. I'm going to use my rough sander because it's going to be faster, but it is going to put a bajillion scratch marks and nasty little scratches and drags in there. So I'm going to pool my resources. Sanding, sanding, dibby dib. It's a fast way to get a surface sanded like this, where I've got this gap. I could do it with that seam line removal, but it would take a long time. So go in like this way, the aggressive way. Is that going to be still there a little bit? I'm going to go a bit more aggressive, so I'm going to go with the metal file instead, because it's still too slow for my liking. Now, when you're filling a gap or anything like that, you're looking for the areas that you're sanding that aren't getting hit by the sanding tool. Tell you that there's an unevenness. It's your high spots and your low spots. So if I go with a metal file that's completely not flexible, and go at different angles, the angle of the dangle. Right, I'm going to go and make that grilled chicken now. See you all, says Space Hamster. Thanks for coming in, buddy. Enjoy your grilled chicken. Yes, grilled chicken for the win. Anyone here have experience with assembling steel photo etch parts? Just wondering if super glue will work, as I do not have a soldering iron. Super glue will glue anything, but keep in mind it does degrade over time. But if only little tiny photo etch parts, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. I mean, if you can solder them, it's even better. because it's like welding them, but if not, don't worry, you'll live. Right, so that's that. We'll give this a good scrub. When I'm sanding with the rough sanding stick or paper, I try and go in as many different directions as possible. Actually, I try and just go in one direction, but vary it. So I'm not just going backward. I'm kind of doing here, and then I'll go at that angle, and then this angle, then this angle, because I want to try and cover up the whole surface with sanding marks to avoid an individual scratch showing. And now I can go back in with this and just very quickly flatten it off. Now you can't see this, but I can see that rough sanded surface is just fading away like this is some kind of eraser tool in Photoshop. And it's just turning into a lovely, smooth, flat surface. I can go in with this just to soften it a bit. And you watch now, this will get completely covered up when I install it into the vehicle. There we go, how's that looking? Still a little bit of a tiny gap that even sanding that away hasn't fixed. So what I might need to do is put a little bit of sprue glue on here, maybe. Looking at it in the light. A little bit of sprue glue in this little tiny gap, maybe. Or it may just be that once that's installed, you don't really see it that well, because it's going to be down here like that. You're not really going to see that. So I'm not going to lose sleep on that. There's a little tiny bit of a dimple here in the centre, but you're not really going to see it. You're not going to see the sides. I think I'm fine with that. I don't need to go much further because it's just not visible at all. And it will have weathering and stuff over it. So we'll carry on with the other ones. So we have these side parts. Ooh, Mr. Side Part. So you can see the sides, so we need to make sure these are nice and smooth. So again, we're just flattening down. Basically, we're scraping away the bead of polystyrene to make it level with the sides, so it's as if there was never a gap there in the first place. I'm going to go in with the file again, and it is weird how sometimes a file can be less aggressive than, say, 800 grit sandpaper or 1200 grit sandpaper. It's weird. When you do sand, I know you've seen me do it backwards and forwards a bit, but when you do sand, try and go in one single direction, like that way, not backwards and forwards like that. It does help reduce the amount of pitting and scraping you introduce into the surface. So that way, need to clean this file out. Going to heat up some of my homemade chilli and pop some Aunt Bessie's chips in the oven, says Phil Lewis. Yum, yum, yum. Sounds good to me. Anyway, where are we? Team Inept says, yeah, just use super glue, ask in the hut too. Tag Vincent DeKimp for advice. Yeah, I mean, super glue will be fine. It's for little bits of photo etch. I wouldn't ever use super glue as anything majorly structural without reinforcing it with, like, you know, baby powder type stuff, but it's fine. For little bits of photo etch, it's fine. I'm always wary of using super glue in like big resin models because I don't trust it not to break down over time. I had a resin model of the USS Reliant, which over time just kind of fell apart because the super glue broke down, but it could have been crap super glue, and it was in the loft for a few years, so it could have been that as well. But yeah, it'd be fine. If you're little tiny photo etch parts, then it's not going to be a major problem. It's not anything too heavily structural. You'll be all right. She'll be right, mate. Now, I think these side parts get covered up by the big turny cogwheel, so we'll get that on and just dry fitted first to see if we need to go any further with this bit of sanding. Got that bit there. Ridgy ridge. If you've got a raised ridge like this, sometimes it's good to go at a 45-degree angle. So I'm still flat, but I'm going this way rather than that way. Yeah, I don't know why, it just seems to work nicely. Nicer, Aaliyah. Let's have a look who's off. Phil Lewis going to go. Oh, done that one. Yes, see you later, Phil. Is Aunt Bessie's chips and chili. Yeah, sounds good to me. Don't know what we're having for dinner. Don't think Mama Fox has decided yet. Don't know if it's going to be something I'm going to have to make, or if it's going to be something I can phone up a little man to turn up. You know, I'll dial some numbers on a phone, little man turns up with a box full of food. I always like that. Miracle of modern science. I need a rough brush to get this debris off. Right, so let's just get that there. Got a little bit here, but not a major amount. A little bit of a seam line there. What I'll tend to do is do all this, and then if there's anything left over that I really do need to deal with, that's when I'll go in with the sprue goo later on. But more often than not, you don't need to. Usually fix most of it. And keep in mind as well that sometimes it can look like you've got a big gap or panel gap or seam line, but when you actually get primer on it, it goes away. Because remember, you're seeing things like the fatigued, stressed plastic, which appears to be lighter. Because that's actually got a physical step, so I need to get a bit handy with that one. Depending on what you're making, of course, you can also get creative. If you have like a gap that's quite big, or you really can't be bothered filling, there have been times when I've sat there and I thought, you know what, I really can't be bothered stopping in my tracks, waiting 24 hours to sprue glue to dry. I'm just going to put some plastic card over it. You can get creative and add greebles over your gaps and seams. That's another valid way of doing it. Especially something like this, Death Guard. Nobody's going to know. Nobody's going to know, are they? Okay, so that's not hidden at all. This is quite a big step on here. So this one's quite challenging. It is quite large, but there's not a lot of room to whittle it down, unfortunately, and the magic file of filing is not doing much. So I'm going to get handy with this puppy. Doodle-doo-doo. Team Inept says pla 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 pla. Paul Di Tomasa says I could go for a nice big panzerotti filled with lots of cheese, pepperoni, green olives and hot peppers, bowl of sauce on the side to dip into. I have no idea what a panzerotti is apart from an Italian tank. Opera singing tank, maybe? See what I did there? Or some sort of tank-based holiday destination. Panzerotti. Going down to Panzerotti, am I? Right, let's have a go at this. Where's the thing? There it is. Mac and cheese tonight, says Osric. Oh, yes. Went out for my friend's birthday the other day. We just went to a local pub that does food, and it's just generic, generic pub food. Like it's a proper eat, like a gastro pub type thing, where it's nothing spectacular. It's just gastro pub. You get your mixed grills and your fancy things. But one thing they did have was their little side dish of mac and cheese. I ordered. I had the Hunter's chicken. I wanted the mixed grill, but the mixed grill was off the menu. There's a lot of stuff that night because they were short-staffed. It was over Christmas. That most of the stuff was off the menu. So we were having a laugh with the manager, but like, wow, what can we order? So I ordered the Hunter's chicken, and somebody else ordered something else, but then said, and can I get a side of mac and cheese? And I'm like, oh, wait, that's a side dish? I want that as well. Not realising that the side dish of mac and cheese was for his dish, and I wasn't supposed to have it with my Hunter's chicken. But the manager's like, you know what, that's fine, no worries. You can have mac and cheese if you want. So he did me a side dish of mac and cheese, and I've got to tell you, I mean, the rest of the meal was quite nice. But the mac and cheese, oh my life, it was so nice. It was soft and creamy and delightful, and oh, it was real nice mac and cheese, that. And I'm not even a big fan of mac and cheese, but it was delightful. I was like, oh, it's just like orgasmic. Right, so that's the big tube. That's kind of a lot better. Looking a bit rough around the edges. Let me just smooth that down a bit. It's a good tool for getting rid of sanding marks as well. The seam line removal tool, or equivalent. It's a good tool for getting rid of scrapey, scratchy marks. Right, so that's there. Also known as a calzone. Oh, okay. I know what calzone is. It's a pizza tube. It's not really a tube. Right, so we need to get the two side pieces. I want to temporarily put them on and just see how much they cover up. So they are... Oh, there's too many things. Too many things. This desk is perfect until you start doing live streaming. It's not actually big enough. So you just get these off the spring. I'm just going to get these off. I won't have time to get these done probably, but we'll get them off loosely. I just want to see how much these cover up, as in how little work I actually have to do. What can I get away with? There is no harm, even though earlier on I was saying about don't take shortcuts if you're doing a YouTube channel and you're knocking the camera. When you're making a model, there's no harm in using the see it, do it rule, which is if you can see it, do it. If you can't see it, it's alright if you don't do it. But it's your choice. I'm just going to nip these a little bit. Can't quite get the god hands in there without using the tip. It's a bit annoying. I'm not going to see these bits, so I'll just go in with the heavy duty ones. Heavy duty. I'll use the full on Metal Gears. Metal Gear. Otacon. There we go. I'm going to clean them up for a second. So what we need to do is, I just want to see if I put these on here, upside down obviously, yes, because of course I do. If I put them on, that can't be right. Let's try this one on this side first, shall we? That seems more likely. If I put them on there, how much of that is covered up? Pretty much most of that seam line I just cleaned a little bit of. It is hidden away. Wait, were we heckling Chris and I missed it, says Eric Graham. Yes. No, we weren't. We were a little bit. Yeah, we were. Should we just say we were? So when I put that in, that bit with the seam line at the bottom here, I was stressing about that, getting it flat. You're not even going to see that. So it's always worth doing quick dry fits. So I now know that that seam line I've just spent 15 minutes cleaning up, it's pointless because you're not going to see the sides, you can't see the bottom bit. So if you're making one of these yourself, that seam line that goes all the way around there, you can pretty much ignore it. It's fine, it's not a problem. Raging Basis says, 9 times out of 10, I'm happy to do something that isn't on the menu or whatever for a customer. It mainly depends if they're a smeghead or not. Yeah. Yeah, there was like nobody in the place when we went. It was like early nights. It was early anyway, but there was nobody there, and they were like understaffed. And there was nothing on. Most of the stuff on the menu was off because there'd been a problem with the delivery. I think the van had crashed or something. The delivery. So a lot of stuff just hadn't got a lot of stuff in stock to make a lot of the meals. But one of our party was like he's a manager, restaurant manager, so he knows how it works anyway. So we just had a laugh with him. We kept saying, he'd say, "Oh, do you want another beer?" And he'd be like, "Nah." Or we might say, "Oh, that thing's not on." He'd be like, "Right, I'll get Yelp up again." Just joking with him. We wouldn't have written him, but he was a great guy. The guy that ran it was running it. It's a good meal all round. A jolly good meal. It didn't actually do any harm that we were almost virtually the only people there, save for I think a couple at one end. You always kind of get, if you go in a restaurant and there's like you and maybe very few other people, you're probably going to get good service because they're having a quiet night and they're quite happy about that. Thank you very much. Especially over Christmas and New Year when they just, because I think one of us said to him, "It's a bit dead in here," and he went, "Oh, don't worry about it. We are so grateful for tonight because we've been busy for the whole week. The fact that we're dead tonight for some weird reason, we love it. It's just a chance to catch our breath." So they don't want to be quiet every night, but every now and then, if you walk in, it's a bit dead. You probably get good service because they'll be happy to see that you've got customers, but also happy that they're not worked off their feet. Right, where are we up to? So I'll just get the seam line from around here. I'll put that camera in a really weird place, haven't I? Does this camera angle work for you guys, or is it too distracting? I don't know. I never know where to put the camera when I do these programs. It's never that, wherever I put it, it's always the wrong place. Okay, so I'll get that there. And also the seam line here, you see? Done quite a bit of work today. It's not like me, this is it. He said duty. I confirm everything model making guru said, says Raging Bassist. Okay, cool. Yeah, if it's dead in a restaurant, but they're normally busy, they'll probably be quite happy that it's for one every now and then it goes a bit quiet. If it's quiet all the time, then they're panicking because they're going out of business. But if it's like usually busy, but one night they're quiet and you go in there, you'll be well looked after. Especially if you're nice and you're friendly. Because even if nothing else, you know, the staff will probably spend more time talking to you because they're not rushed off their feet dealing with 15 different tables. They'll sit and have a laugh, you know. That's what the manager, when we were there in the place, did. He was like, you're just hanging around saying, you know, we're having a laugh about the stuff not being on the menu and joking about Yelp and things and ribbing him slightly. But he was a really nice guy, but he was just hanging out, which was nice. And we got, you know, some extra special. He did my, you know, mac and cheese with the dish that's not supposed to have mac and cheese. We got some extra ice cream. It's the one thing I've learned in my 30 years of doing crappy customer service jobs that I never want to go back to. Which is why I'm so grateful to my patrons. The one thing I've learned more than anything else that I can impart to you when it comes to any sort of customer service, any sort of customer services, online, on the phone, face to face, is don't be a douche. Even if you're really, really angry about something and a company's really, really, you know, knocked you off and they're definitely in the wrong and you know they're in the wrong, don't be a douche. If you're calm and polite, you'll probably end up getting what you want. Because trust me, I did that kind of job for 30 years. The person on the end of the phone and you know, on the other end of the phone or whatever. And if you scream and you shout, all that happens is that person in customer services wants to get you off the phone as quickly as possible. And that doesn't mean they'll give you whatever they can. It means they'll do anything they can to get rid of you. But if you're nice and polite, they'll still want to get you off the phone as quickly as possible because they'll have a manager tell them to do that. But they'll be more inclined to have you'll be a nice break from the screaming, shouting customers. So, for example, if you're, for example, American, you have to call Comcast because they're, you know, mouth-breathing idiots. Try being quiet and nice. Or if in this country you've got to call like Sky or Virgin or someone, for example, just be nice and quiet. Because that person who is paid probably a really crappy wage doesn't really care, ultimately about your service. They don't care. It's of no interest to them. They just want to pay their bills. So if you give them a break from the shouting and the screaming, they're going to love you to bits. They're going to do whatever you want. Because you are going to be a break from the shouting and the screaming. Because trust me, when you sit on a phone for 9 hours a day and all you get is people shouting and screaming and complaining constantly, vociferously and swearing a lot about their phone bill or whatever, you hate. Whoever comes on that phone, you're going to hate them. You're not going to be inclined to help them because you're just sick of people shouting at you. But if of a day I'm having calls coming in and suddenly somebody's being really nice to me and I'm like, oh, hi, I know it's not your fault, but blah, 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 and this has happened. Is there any way you could you have a look? You'll be like, oh, this is a nice break, in which case I shall be nice back. I shall see if I'll be inclined to help them a bit more. Right, I'm not gluing this in. I'm just putting it in there so I can line it up and get the glue on the side parts. Those side arms are a bit wibbly wobbly, so I'm not gluing it into the vehicle. I'm just placing it in there so these two arms can set in place before I'll keep the weapon separate because I can paint it separately then. Fox, try being a pizza delivery driver for the past 5 years here in the States like I have, says Eric Graham. Yeah, in that case, yeah, that is a really bad job. I can imagine that's worse. I mean, I was on the end of a phone or on the other side of a window, so yeah. I never knocked on someone's door and got a gun in my face. I've always tried to be as polite as possible for staff anywhere I go, whether it's the market or a food place. Aidan Jones is in. Good evening, people. Welcome, Aidan. When I worked in a government call centre as a raging basis for certain HM services, if a family called up screaming and shouting wanting to speak to the partner who were a guest, they'd get nothing. Yeah. You always have to remember, whenever you call up a customer service department, whatever it is, doesn't matter what it does not matter whether it's private or government, private industry or government or anything like that. It's irrelevant. That person answering your call doesn't care about you. They just want to pay their bills. They want people to stop shouting at them. They want to feed their kids and they want to go home. But they'll do the best they can because it's their job. So if you can be a fire break from the person that just hung up from them screaming and shouting and the person that's going to call after them screaming and shouting, they're gonna enjoy that. They're gonna make the most of that. And that's what you need to keep in mind. Same with restaurants. I've got little nubs on these wheels, on these gears here. That's a bit of a pain. Potential stability, is it potential? There are some times when SGW will find better places to put nubs than in the middle of a complicated gear system, where it's quite frustrating. There we go, a little bit there. I don't know how much of this is going to be visible, so let's just do a quick dry test fit. That's going to go there. I like the way you got the cogwheels that link together as if it was an actual working cog thing. Okay, I let them off. The big nub that's in the middle of the cogwheel is actually hidden from view. This is acceptable. This is acceptable. It wasn't bad per se, says Eric, about being a pizza delivery guy. It had its moments, but you had some real pain in the backside customers. Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. Plus all the stoners. You forgot they'd ordered stuff. No way, dude. So again on here, by dry fitting these, I can look at what I need to worry about and what I don't. There's some bits I'm not going to see, so I don't have to be too careful about removing the nubs. Like I said, there's being a perfectionist, but there's being a perfectionist and wasting your own time. There's nothing wrong with doing the best job you can possibly do on a build. And you should do as much as you can. Do the best job you can do. Even if you're doing it just for fun. Because you get the satisfaction of looking at something and saying, I did that. You'll never be fully happy with what you do. You'll never be fully happy. And that's the sign of an artist. An artist that goes, I have finished this build and it is perfect and I can do nothing more to improve it. It will never be bettered. Then you're an idiot and I don't want to know anything about you. I want you to leave now. But normal people will be like, well, I've done all right, but I don't like this bit and I wish I'd spent more time on this and I'm not really happy with how that bit came out and this bit I was hoping to look like this and it didn't quite work, or yeah, the tank looks great but the guy, I messed up his eyes. And a good artist is never happy with whatever they produced. Even if there's 1,000 people sitting there saying you've just made a work of genius, the artist will still be like, well, maybe I'm still not happy with X, Y and Z. That's the sign of a proper artist. Right, so these need to go in here. Like this, you see. Just slot in there like that. That's rather neat. I like them. A little bit of glue. And because we'll get this back inside in the little fitment to keep the arm setting in place. Make sure that little cogwheel. There's some little rough sections where I've sanded it, so I'll just make sure I get a little bit of the extra thin over those little rough sections so they smooth down. Remember I said you can use the glue just to smooth off any little feathery bits, little feathery sanding marks. Now I am doing something fatally bad here. That's a fatal mistake that many people make and you shouldn't. Can you tell what it is? Correct. I'm doing something you should never do, and that is something you can't see, which is I'm getting my glue and I'm moving the glue brush across the model. I've got the glue there and I'm going like this. Don't do that. Yes, I was filling up my brush and then dragging it across the model. Don't do that because all it takes is one drip to ruin it. So yeah, always make sure you're dragging the brush somewhere else. So there we go, that's that done. I'm not going to glue it in because I want to be able to paint that separately, possibly. I probably don't need to, but I will. It means I can do it separately. And of course, for transportation, if I need to, I can pop it out and it takes up less space. So I might leave that bit permanently not glued in. It's not going to fall out. Let's have a look. Dad's KFC. Hang on, it jumped. Doodle-doo. Eric Graham says, Dad's KFC driver, that's a thing. Off topic, what is the hook thing next to the yellow thing? This device here. This is my lovely, lovely Tamiya scribing tool. It's for it's for scribing panel lines. I'm trying to find a bit of plastic that I can do on that's not just going to be bright white. I haven't got one. It's for scribing panel lines. So say for example you've got an aircraft wing and you've sanded it away and you've got a panel line that's been filled in. You use it to scribe panel lines, but it's also really handy for removing a seam line where you've got a ribbed structure. So for example on a plasma rifle where you've got the ribbed structure on top of the plasma rifle, you've got the seam line that goes right down the middle of it, and it's really annoying. So what you can do is you can sand and seam line remove the whole weapon, but when it comes to the little ribbed section of the plasma rifle, you get your scribing tool and you just run it along each of the bits between the ribs. You've got like a rib and then a dip and then it's like that kind of shape, corrugated shape. You run it between and very slowly, very gently, no pressure, it will remove the seam line that goes down the middle of the ribbed bit without destroying the ribbed. If you just sand it, you'll just sand it flat and you'll lose that rib texture. So it's very handy for that. I would use it a little bit on in here. Here you go, this is an example. It's a perfect example. This bit here, where you've got these three little sort of ribbed lines. You could get a knife blade in there to get rid of the seam line that ran down the middle, but a knife blade is pointy and will make a V-shaped cut in the plastic. And it will leave a rough edge. Because again, it's a flexible blade, it'll leave a rough edge and it'll just make a mess. A scribing tool has a square profile or angle profile blade. It's not a V. It's either square like that or it's angled like that. So it's got a flat edge and an angled edge, which you can't see because I'm zoomed in. So a scribing tool is much better for going into like a very thin recess like that. You get your scribing tool and you just run it along the inside. No pressure at all. You just literally put it in the hole and drag it along. Keep going backwards and forward. I mean, keep going over it and over again. And it will slowly carve away the seam line that goes down the middle without damaging the actual trench. It's good for little trenches like that. So anything like that where you've got a very thin trench area, it's perfect. And of course it's great for putting seam lines back in if you've got like panel lines on vehicles and stuff. Let's have a look. It's a Tamiya one. I think it's the it's the Scriber 2. The difference between this and Scriber 1 is this one comes with a spare blade and a place for your spare blades. 2 spare blades actually, and this blade has lasted me for years, so they're going to last me my entire lifetime. It's not even on camera. There's the spare blades. It's going to last me my entire lifetime because I've not even used the first one yet. So there you go. It's a Scriber 2. I never had one of these until I got one, which is the dumbest thing I've ever said, possibly. I never had one of these until I got one. But I wouldn't be without this now because it's absolutely vital for like putting back in little recessed details that you may have scribed out. Even things like vents on Space Marine backpacks, or where you've got a backpack on a Space Marine, you've got the little sort of thruster bit on one side. You've got the backpack here and the thruster bell here, that round thruster bell. That little gap between them, between the main backpack and the bell, the thruster bell, you can get it in there and just run it along like that. And it takes out that little bit of seam line. So getting rid of seam lines in recess is a brilliant use for that. I've never actually used it to put a panel line or scrap a panel line. A lot of people use these if you're making, for example, the Master Grade O, the O Gumpler, or even the high grade. It doesn't have much detail on it. Or you're making the Nightingale, HD Nightingale kit. You could add your own panel lines. Perfect. Other makes are available. I can't remember if this is in my Amazon store. Have a look. If it's not in my Amazon store, links in the description below the video. Let me know and I can add it for you. Bassist says, art is never completed, only abandoned. True. I've done it with music I've written. Painting, though, is never good enough. Thanks, Paul. Would it be worth getting one or be a knife just as good? I never use a knife for something I can use the scribing tool for because, like I said before, knife blades are different. Knife blades will gouge the surface. A scribing tool will just... well, scribe is the word, but with a knife, you're literally gouging out plastic. You'll get little rough bits and it'll move. This thing, you can you scribe a line and it'll have a square profile like that. It'll be that kind of shaped trench. If you do it with a knife, you'll get a V-shaped trench and it'll be rough and scratchy. This thing, it'll always give you a nice trench of the same thickness every time. You literally just place it on the surface and use its own weight and go over and over and over. You can also use it to cut plastic card as well with a nice neat edge. You can use a knife, but a knife is a lot rougher and rubbisher and you'll get really crappy, uneven panel lines. Corner Man says, all my models have 6 bajillion crap bits that bug me, but no one else seems to notice. That's the other thing about doing any kind of artwork. You'll see all the flaws in the thing you've made because you've made it and you've been sat there looking at it for weeks. I've put out pieces that I've thought is absolute garbage, and people have gone, wow, that's the best thing ever, and I've been like, oh, really, can you not see that and that thumb mark on this bit where I've got a nub and that bit of that there and this bit that's really badly painted? Yeah, nobody sees your work like you do. I would say it's worth getting. Better yet, you can get micro chisels that will be even better, says Paul. With all the plastic shavings on Fox's bench, you can make another model. Yes. I'll have a look on your models tomorrow as it is payday. There you go. Excellent. I think the scribing tool removes the material. Yes. That's the other thing. The knife blade just kind of digs in. This actually, it's literally taking the best way to explain it. Imagine that's the edge of the blade in profile, that square. It's not actually square, but it's not like a knife, which is a pointy blade. This actually just, it's like a chisel. It just gouges out. So if I've got a square blade, here's some plastic, I get a square blade, I get a nice, neat, clean trench. With a knife, you don't even try scribing a pan. Get a very old kit. When you get yourself a scribing tool, they're not like they'll last you for years. Get a very old kit and try scribing 2 lines, one with a scribing tool and one with a knife. You'll see the difference. One other thing you might want to get though, if you do get a scribing tool, is something I can't find, which is some Dymo tape. DYMO, it says Dymo on the inside. It's that tape that anybody in the 70s would know about, when you got the thing where you could make labels by squishing it and it prints it into the tape. It's a really thick plastic tape that's very inflexible. What you do is you get your bit of Dymo tape. I won't do it now because I've got a bit of plastic to do it on. You get a piece of Dymo tape like that. It's very sharp. You can give yourself paper cuts. You stick it down onto a surface because it's adhesive. So I want to do a panel line here. I'll put the Dymo tape on there. I'll stick it down because it's adhesive, and then I'll very gently run the scribing tool along like that, along the straight edge. You don't put any pressure down. You let the scribing tool use the weight of the tool. You go that way, and you go that way again, and you keep doing it over and over and over. You never go from the very edge, because what you do is you do it from, say, 1 millimeter or 2 in, and then when you get to the end, you turn it round and you go that way. If you go from the edge, you'll catch it and you'll get a rough edge. So always start 1 millimeter or 2 in from the edge, go down, and then turn it round and go the other way to get the other edge. But that way, this tape will not move, it won't flex, it won't bend, and when you finish, you can take it off and use it somewhere else to do another panel line. If you use normal masking tape or sellotape, it'll just, the knife or the tool will just push the tape away. So get yourself some Dymo tape. DYMO. Not expensive, again, it will last you for years. Either other things are available, a lot of people just use Dymo tape. Anyway, I think we're on finishing time, aren't we? Let's have a look. Got to run and start cooking. See you later. Thanks, Fox. Says Edward. Thank you, matey. Thanks for coming in. I'll see you later, maybe on Chris's show. Off to enjoy some food. Catch you later, says Gemma. Thank you very much for coming in, Gemma. And grassing us all up. Snitches get stitches. You know how it works. Yeah, so don't forget, thank you to everyone for watching today. I've got some work done for once. Next week we'll crack on with the next thing, which is whatever the hell they are. Thermic regulator, plasma vent core, frog bash the vent core. Halo joke. Nobody will get that. Yeah, I'll finish that up later on and we'll crack on with the next thing. Don't forget, of course, tonight 8 PM, in just a couple of hours, Chris on his channel, Gross Models, he's doing his Warhammer Sunday, where he's working on apparently not the big orc truck, so some planes, I don't know, I think that's a fix. We'll be back tomorrow on Monday with the E-Models show, back to normal with that, so don't forget that tomorrow night on the E-Models YouTube channel. Monday show with me, Chris, Ted, Colin. The usual Monday shenanigans. That should be good fun. And don't forget on the E-Model show as well, when we had the live show over Christmas, we're giving 2 models away in that show, so make sure if you haven't already to go and watch that video on the E-Model channel from the live Christmas build. Go and watch that video, find out what you need to write in the comments, and write the comments because you can win one of 2 awesome kits. I will be back next weekend, obviously with Sidebinder Saturday and then Warhammer Sunday over the next weekend. I'll try and get some, I've got some more Conquest stuff to unbox and show, and I've got my next X-Wing episode. I'm going to try and get them filmed this week, so they should be up. X-Wing will go live for patrons a week in advance. The Warhammer Conquest stuff just goes live for everybody. And then we'll crack on with some more stuff. But thank you very much for watching. Have yourself a great evening if I don't see you later on Chris's stream. Take care of yourselves. I've got to get everything ready now, haven't I? Let me just double check my buttons work. Hang on.
Slap it on.
Yeah, somehow my buttons are still working after 3 hours. It's a miracle. It's a Christmas miracle. I don't know how. Yes, thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves. Go make something awesome like this. Go be awesome. And until next time, you go be awesome. Until next time, I shall say, adios, amoebas.